The night air is still warm, even long after sunset. Somewhere beyond the sleeping streets, soft water moves quietly through a narrow canal. The sound is gentle, slow, steady enough that most people no longer hear it. It belongs to the night now, just as much as the quiet footsteps of someone returning home late beneath a sky filled with pale stars. In the old cities of the Islamic Golden Age, darkness did not fully erase life. It only softened it. Oil lamps still glowed behind carved wooden windows. A baker somewhere finished his final work before dawn. A tired guard shifted his weight beside a heavy gate. Far away, a dog barked once and then settled again into silence. Most people, however, were already asleep. Inside mud brick homes, families rested close together beneath the heavy warmth of the night. Some slept on woven mats placed carefully on cool floors. Others rested on simple bedding stuffed with wool or straw. Wealthier homes sometimes had raised sleeping spaces, but ordinary people often slept where cool air moved most easily. In warmer months, many people preferred rooftops. After a long day of labor beneath the sun, the roof felt kinder than the crowded rooms below. Families climbed narrow stairways carrying blankets, small pillows, and quiet conversations. The stone still held traces of daytime heat, but cooler winds slowly drifted through the darkness. A child might already be asleep before everyone settled. An older man sometimes remained awake a little longer, listening to distant sounds from the city. Quiet footsteps. The occasional creak of wood. The soft whisper of wind moving through alleyways. Then even those sounds slowly faded. For ordinary people, rest mattered deeply. The days were long. Most lives followed the movement of sunlight. Work began early and ended only when tired bodies could no longer continue. Farmers, laborers, fishermen, builders, servants, and market workers often carried exhaustion like an invisible companion. Hands hardened. Feet ached. Shoulders stayed sore. And so night became something precious. A short peace before morning returned again. Before dawn, the city still feels suspended between sleep and waking. The sky is dark blue now. Somewhere, someone stirs. A mother rises quietly before the others. She moves carefully through the dim room, stepping softly so sleeping children remain asleep a little longer. Her work begins before sunrise, long before markets fill or workshops grow noisy. She reaches for clay jars. Water must be gathered. Bread must be prepared. The day cannot begin without effort. Outside, streets remain mostly empty. Sand and dust settle quietly along narrow roads worn smooth by thousands of passing sandals. The air feels cooler now than it will later. For a short time, before heat rises from stone and earth, the world feels calm. Men carrying water jars pass silently. A donkey shifts lazily nearby. Someone coughs in the distance. The smell of baking bread has not yet arrived, but already fires are beginning to wake. For ordinary families, food demanded work every day. There were no easy meals waiting. Grain needed grinding. Dough needed kneading. Water needed carrying. Fuel had to be found. Sometimes women worked together. Sometimes daughters helped quietly beside mothers, learning routines they would repeat for much of their own lives someday. Hands pressed dough with practiced movements. Simple flat bread slowly took shape. The smell of flour and warm heat began to fill small homes. Breakfast was usually modest. Bread. Olives. Dates. Perhaps cheese if the family had enough. Sometimes leftover stew from the night before. For poorer families, meals could be plain and repetitive, though hunger itself was familiar to many people during difficult seasons. A farmer's family understood this well. Outside the cities, villages slowly awakened beside fields and riverbanks. Morning arrived differently there. Before sunlight spread fully across the land, animals already stirred. Goats shifted impatiently. Donkeys waited beside wooden tools. A farmer stepped outside, rubbing tired eyes after restless sleep. His hands already carried old signs of labor. Dry skin. Small scars. Thick fingers worn by seasons of work. The earth-shaped people. Life followed planting and harvest. Some years brought comfort. Others brought worry. Rain mattered. Water mattered. The health of animals mattered. One difficult season could follow a family for many months. Yet morning still arrived. And work still waited. The farmer eats little before leaving. Bread. Water. Maybe figs if fortune has been kind. Then he walks slowly toward fields touched by pale early sunlight. The earth feels cool beneath his sandals. For now. Later, heat will settle heavily across everything. By midday, clothing will cling to tired skin. Dust will settle across faces. Muscles will ache. But morning still feels gentle. Birds move quietly near irrigation channels. The wind barely stirs. Water reflects soft light as though the world itself has not fully awakened. In cities, another kind of labor begins. Markets slowly come alive. Wooden stalls open one by one. Merchants arrange cloth carefully. Potters set out bowls shaped by patient hands. Spice sellers unpack fragrant goods wrapped in fabric. Nothing moves quickly. The city stretches awake slowly. A young assistant sweeps dust from the entrance of a workshop. His day will be long. He may be 12. Or 13. Old enough to work. Young enough to still feel sleepy while morning shadows remain. Many ordinary children worked. Not always in cruelty. Simply because families needed help. A boy might learn weaving from his uncle. Another learned carpentry beside his father. Girls often helped manage homes, prepare food, carry water, care for younger children, or assist with family trade. Work arrived early in life. There was little separation between childhood and responsibility. Yet quiet moments still existed. A child sometimes paused beside river water. Someone laughed briefly in a courtyard. Friends whispered stories while carrying baskets home. Life was difficult, but not empty. Inside workshops, long hours passed beneath heat and noise. Blacksmiths worked beside fire. Textile workers handled cloth with patient concentration. Scribes bent carefully over pages, copying words with tired eyes. Even writing required endurance. A scribe's body could ache deeply after hours of careful movement. Back pain. Stiff fingers. Heavy eyes. Candles burned low beside long work tables. Ink-stained sleeves. Still, the work continued. Ordinary workers often measured time differently. Not by clocks, but by sunlight. Morning coolness. Midday heat. Long shadows. Evening relief. The body itself understood the passing hours. By late morning, heat settled more heavily across roads and rooftops. Dust lingered in the air. Animals slowed. Workers wiped sweat from foreheads. In crowded cities, smells mixed together. Fresh bread. Smoke. Animals. Spices. Sweat from laboring bodies. Warm stone holding sunlight. The world felt crowded and alive. Yet tiring too. Especially for servants and laborers. Some spent entire days carrying goods. Heavy sacks. Clay jars. Bundles of wood. Water. Stone. Movement never truly stopped. Rest happened in small pieces. A quiet pause beside shade. Cool water shared between workers. Someone sitting silently against a wall, catching breath before returning to labor. There was dignity in ordinary effort. Though history often remembers rulers and scholars, most lives passed quietly. A woman washing clothes near water. A fisherman repairing nets. A builder lifting stone beneath burning sunlight. A servant preparing evening food for a family who rarely noticed how much labor had already happened before dinner arrived. Most people never expected greatness. They hoped for steadiness. Enough bread. Healthy children. Peaceful seasons. A roof that held through harsh weather. Small things mattered deeply. As the day stretches forward, sunlight grows stronger. The city hums with work now. Merchants bargain gently. Animals move slowly through streets. Children weave carefully through crowds. Somewhere, someone sits briefly beneath shade with tired feet and warm bread wrapped in cloth. The hours continue. Slowly. Patiently. And above it all, sunlight rests across domes, rooftops, narrow alleys, and busy courtyards, while ordinary people quietly carry the weight of another day. The warmth grows heavier now. Morning slips softly toward afternoon. And somewhere beyond the city walls, where dusty roads disappear into pale distance, another ordinary worker continues walking home beneath a wide and silent sky. The afternoon heat settles slowly over the city. By now, sunlight rests heavily on rooftops and stone walls. Dust hangs quietly in the air, disturbed only by passing feet or the soft movement of donkeys pulling small carts through narrow roads. The world feels slower during these warm hours, as though even the city itself has grown tired. In many places, work continues, though more gently now. A carpenter pauses beneath shade, resting rough hands against tired knees. Nearby, curls of wood gather softly on the floor of a small workshop. The smell of sawdust mixes with warm air drifting through an open doorway. He has already been awake since before sunrise. His shoulders ache. His fingers feel stiff. Still, there are chairs to repair. Shelves to shape. Wooden doors needing careful hands. Life moves through repetition. Small tasks repeated across many years. A person wakes. Works. Rests. Sleeps. Then begins again. For ordinary people of the Islamic Golden Age, this rhythm shaped nearly everything. In homes tucked along winding streets, women continue their own long labor through the hottest part of the day. Some sit on woven mats preparing vegetables slowly for evening meals. Others mend worn clothing while younger children rest nearby. Fabric tears often. Sandals wear thin. Nothing useful is wasted. A torn cloth may become cleaning fabric. Old rope may be tied together again. Clay jars, once cracked, might still hold dry goods if repaired carefully enough. Life asks people to make things last. A mother kneels near a clay oven. The warmth near the fire feels heavy now, almost too much beneath afternoon heat, but bread must still be made. She wipes sweat gently from her forehead before turning dough carefully in practiced movements learned over many years. Outside, the sounds of the street drift quietly inward. A passing merchant speaking softly. A distant animal call. The faint tapping of tools somewhere nearby. A child laughing briefly before silence returns. The city never fully stops. It only slows. For laborers, midday can feel endless. Builders working on walls, roads, homes, or public buildings often faced long hours beneath direct sunlight. Their clothing trapped heat. Dust gathered across skin. Water became precious. Many rested when possible. Even a few moments beneath shade mattered. Someone leans against a wall. Another removes sandals briefly to cool aching feet. Words grow fewer during hot hours. Energy becomes something to protect. In river towns, fishermen continue quiet work beside moving water. The rivers matter deeply. They feed villages. Carry trade. Provide fish. Offer water for crops and daily life. A fisherman sits patiently inside a small wooden boat, the slow movement of water rocking gently beneath him. His hands know these motions without thought now. Repairing nets. Watching currents. Waiting. Fishing often required patience more than speed. The river moved slowly. So did the day. Nearby, reeds bend gently in warm wind. Birds move low over water. The smell of wet earth rises softly beneath sunlight. Sometimes silence fills long stretches of work. Not loneliness. Simply quiet. The kind of quiet that grows familiar after many years. Back in larger cities, market streets begin changing again. Some merchants sit fanning themselves patiently. Others speak softly with travelers arriving from dusty roads carrying news from distant places. The Islamic world stretches far during these centuries. Roads connect many lands. Goods move slowly from one city to another. Spices, textiles, books, glass, metalwork, food. Yet behind every busy market stand sits an ordinary person hoping simply to earn enough for tomorrow. A cloth merchant counts coins carefully. Not many. But perhaps enough. Enough flour. Enough oil. Enough food for another evening meal. Success often looks small. Steady work. A quiet home. Children sleeping safely nearby. These were riches too. A young apprentice sweeps workshop floors. His arms feel tired now. He dreams quietly of becoming skilled someday, perhaps owning a shop of his own if fortune allows it. But dreams remain simple. Stability matters more than greatness. He watches older workers closely. How they shape wood. How they speak with customers. How they repair things patiently instead of quickly. Knowledge passes slowly between generations. Not inside classrooms for most ordinary people. But through watching. Repeating. Failing. Trying again. The same hands teaching year after year. In poorer neighborhoods, homes stand close together. Walls made of mud brick hold warmth from the day. Narrow alleys create thin ribbons of shade where neighbors sometimes gather briefly to escape heat. Someone carries water. Someone repairs a basket. Someone rests quietly beside a doorway. Life happens close together. People hear one another's troubles. A crying child. An argument fading quickly. Laughter from nearby families. The sound of cooking pots moving against stone floors. Privacy feels different here. Communities know one another well. Sometimes too well. Still, closeness brings comfort. During illness, neighbors may help. During hardship, food might quietly appear from nearby homes. Not always. But often enough that people remember kindness. Illness itself remains familiar. A cough lasting too long. Fever arriving suddenly. Pain in joints after years of labor. Injuries that never fully heal. Medicine exists, though access differs depending on wealth and place. Some seek herbal remedies. Others visit healers or physicians if they can afford it. Many simply endure discomfort quietly. Bodies carry history. A farmer's bent back. A laborer's swollen hands. A cook's burned fingers. Time leaves its mark slowly. As afternoon drifts toward evening, shadows finally begin growing longer. The worst heat eases little by little. Relief arrives softly. Almost unnoticed at first. A breeze moves through streets. Someone exhales deeply. Workers straighten tired backs. The day begins loosening its heavy grip. Children become more energetic again. Some run through courtyards. Others help gather water before darkness arrives. A girl balances a clay vessel carefully against her side while walking home with family members. Dust clings lightly to her sandals. She is tired. Everyone seems tired. Yet evening carries something comforting. The hardest work is ending. In homes across cities and villages, fires begin preparing for meals. Simple food fills many tables. Lentils. Bread. Rice in some regions. Vegetables. Stews cook slowly when ingredients allow. Dates. Cheese. Olives. Sometimes meat for fortunate households, though not every day for ordinary workers. The smell of cooking slowly spreads through neighborhoods. Smoke rises gently into evening sky. People return home. Faces dusty. Bodies sore. Clothing carrying traces of the day. A father washes hands slowly before sitting. A mother continues moving between cooking and caring for children. Someone shares quiet stories from market streets. Someone else speaks of difficult customers or long hours. Conversations remain small. Practical. Gentle. People speak of prices. Weather. Family worries. Tomorrow's work. Outside, the world grows softer. The sky shifts toward deep orange. Birds settle. The sounds of labor slowly disappear. Workshops close their doors. Merchants gather remaining goods. Animals grow quieter. And something peaceful settles across the streets. Not silence yet, but calm. A kind of tired peace shared by people who have worked since dawn. Later, after food is eaten and lamps burn softly, families sit together in courtyards or rooftops where evening air finally feels cooler. Children rest sleepily beside parents. Someone tells a story quietly. An elder remembers old seasons. A grandmother speaks softly while repairing cloth by fading light. No great events happen here. No kings. No battles. Only ordinary evenings shaped by ordinary lives. And yet these quiet moments fill most of history. People resting. Eating warm bread. Feeling tired muscles soften. Listening to distant footsteps beyond darkening streets. Some nights, stars appear clear above rooftops. The sky feels endless. The world suddenly quieter. Someone lies back for a moment, looking upward while warm wind brushes softly across tired skin. Tomorrow will come quickly. Everyone knows this. Work will return. Heat will return. Responsibilities will return. But for now, evening belongs to rest. Slowly, carefully, the city exhales. Oil lamps flicker behind windows. Voices soften. Animals settle into stillness. And somewhere nearby, hidden behind walls of mud brick and worn stone, an ordinary family prepares for another night beneath the calm and patient sky. Night settles slowly across the city. The heat of the day still lingers inside walls and stone paths, but the sharp brightness of sunlight is gone now. In its place comes something softer. The world grows quieter. Shadows stretch gently through alleyways, and warm wind moves slowly between homes where lamps begin to glow. For many ordinary people, this is the first moment of true rest. The hardest work has passed. Bodies feel heavy now. Feet ache. Hands carry the memory of labor. And yet evening has a kindness to it, especially after long hours spent beneath dust and heat. In homes across cities and villages, families gather close together. The meal has often been simple. Bread torn by hand. Lentils cooked slowly. Olives placed in small bowls. Perhaps onions or herbs gathered from nearby markets. Sometimes there is fish from river waters, or meat if fortune has been generous. Nothing extravagant. Only enough. Enough to quiet hunger. Enough to help tired bodies recover. Children often eat quickly, sleep already beginning to pull gently at their eyes. Some lean against parents while listening to quiet conversations they barely understand. Others drift into sleep before the night grows deep. Parents notice this and smile softly. The day has worn everyone down. In crowded neighborhoods, sounds travel easily between homes. Someone nearby washes dishes. A child cries briefly. Low voices drift through open windows. Farther away, someone laughs once, softly, before the sound disappears into warm darkness. The city feels alive still. But calmer now. Less demanding. In homes with inner courtyards, evening air moves more freely. Families sometimes sit outside while temperatures slowly cool. Lamps flicker softly, casting quiet shapes across walls. Someone pours water into clay cups. Someone else mends clothing worn thin from many months of labor. Needles move patiently through fabric. Hands know the work without needing thought. Repairing things becomes part of ordinary life. A tear in clothing cannot simply be ignored. Sandals need fixing. Ropes fray. Blankets wear thin. Life asks for care. Again and again. In poorer homes, people own very little, yet those few belongings matter deeply. A cooking pot used for years. A woven mat carefully protected. A blanket passed between generations. Small objects gather memory. They become part of family life. Part of survival. Outside city walls, village evenings arrive differently. Darkness spreads wider there. The land feels quieter. The wind carries smells of earth, water, and distant fires burning low after evening meals. Farmers return from fields with slow steps. Muscles ache deeply after long hours of bending, lifting, planting, carrying. Agriculture is exhausting work. Beautiful from a distance perhaps, but hard upon the body. The hands of a farmer rarely remain soft. Fingernails hold traces of soil. Skin cracks from sun and labor. Backs bend slowly with age. Still, fields require attention every season. No one rests for long. In farming communities, tomorrow's work is already waiting. Animals need care. Water channels must be checked. Crops need watching. Even after dark, responsibilities remain. A young boy helps secure goats for the night. An older daughter gathers leftover tools. Parents quietly prepare for another early morning. Yet even here, small moments of peace appear. Someone sits outside briefly beneath stars. A tired worker drinks cool water slowly. A grandmother hums softly while children settle onto blankets. The night feels larger in villages. More open. The stars brighter. The silence deeper. Back in cities, rooftops begin filling again. Warm seasons often make indoor sleeping uncomfortable. Mud brick walls hold heat long after sunset, and crowded rooms can feel heavy and still. So families climb stairs carrying bedding. Woven mats. Thin blankets. Simple pillows. Children complain sleepily. Parents move carefully in dim light. Neighbors can sometimes see one another across nearby rooftops. Quiet greetings pass softly through darkness. Nothing loud. No rush. Just a calm understanding shared by people ending long days. A man lowers himself slowly onto bedding, exhaling as tired muscles finally relax. He worked carrying heavy goods through market streets all day. His shoulders still hurt. Tomorrow will likely feel the same. But for now, he closes his eyes. The warm night air touches his face gently. Nearby, someone whispers a quiet prayer. The city breathes beneath the stars. Night workers still remain awake, of course. Some jobs never fully stop. Bakers often begin working long before dawn. In small bakeries, fires glow softly while flour dust settles across tables. The smell of warm bread slowly rises into dark streets. A baker kneads dough with practiced movements. His work begins while most others sleep. Before sunrise, people will want food. Markets will open. Families will wake hungry. Bread must already be waiting. The work is tiring. Hot. Repetitive. Yet necessary. Without workers like him, daily life becomes harder for everyone. Elsewhere, guards walk slowly through quieter streets. Their footsteps echo gently against stone. Most nights pass peacefully. Still, someone must watch. Someone must remain awake while others sleep. Oil lamps flicker near gates. The wind shifts softly. The city rests under careful eyes. In homes, sleep arrives differently for each person. Children fall asleep quickly. Laborers often collapse into rest from exhaustion. Older people may wake more often during the night, stiff joints refusing full comfort. Some struggle with coughing. Others wake from aches carried for many years. Illness is common. Pain familiar. Many people simply continue despite discomfort. There are remedies, herbs, advice passed through families and healers, but not every sickness leaves easily. A fever can change everything. An injury from labor may never fully heal. Even so, ordinary life continues. Because it must. Across the Islamic world, countless people sleep now inside homes both large and small. Merchants, servants, builders, fishermen, mothers, apprentices, farmers, scribes. People history often forgets. Yet these quiet lives shape entire cities. Without them, markets remain empty. Homes fall apart. Fields go unworked. Roads disappear beneath neglect. The ordinary people carry everything quietly. Often unnoticed. Sometimes exhausted. Always necessary. Late in the night, silence deepens. The busiest sounds disappear entirely now. Only small things remain. A distant dog barking once. The quiet rustle of wind. The soft shifting of someone turning in sleep. The distant murmur of moving water through canals. Moonlight touches rooftops. Clay walls glow faintly silver beneath stars. A sleeping child stirs beside family. Someone pulls a blanket closer. A mother wakes briefly to check on her children before drifting back to sleep. Night feels gentle here. Not easy. Life remains difficult. Tomorrow's labor waits patiently beyond the darkness. But for a few quiet hours, burdens rest. The market seller no longer bargains. The laborer no longer lifts. The farmer no longer bends beneath sunlight. The cook no longer stands beside heat. Bodies finally soften. Minds grow quiet. Dreams arrive. Some dream of better harvests. Others dream of enough money for repairs. Some dream of healthier seasons. Many dream simply of rest. And slowly, almost unnoticed, darkness begins to shift again. Far beyond the rooftops, the horizon changes little by little. Black turns softer. Blue begins to rise quietly into the sky. The first birds will soon stir. The baker's fires already glow. Some workers are already awake. Morning approaches again, patient and steady, while the city still rests beneath the fading coolness of night. Morning arrives quietly. At first, it is only a faint change in the sky. The darkness begins to soften, slowly giving way to pale shades of blue stretching across the horizon. Rooftops still rest in shadow. Courtyards remain still. Most families are asleep, wrapped in the final moments of cool night air before heat returns once more. The city breathes softly. Somewhere nearby, a donkey shifts its weight against stone. A wooden door creaks gently. Birds begin moving through the morning silence. The world is waking again. For ordinary people, morning comes early. Often earlier than tired bodies wish. A laborer sleeping on a rooftop opens his eyes slowly. His back feels stiff from yesterday's work. One arm aches faintly where heavy goods rested for too many hours. For a moment, he stays still, looking upward at the sky fading into dawn. The coolness feels pleasant. Temporary. Soon warmth will arrive. Soon dust will rise. Soon another day will begin asking things from him. But for now, there is quiet. Nearby, others stir gently. Children shift beneath blankets. Someone yawns softly. A mother carefully folds bedding while trying not to wake everyone at once. Life begins in small movements. Nothing rushed. Not yet. Families slowly descend narrow stairways from rooftops where they spent the night. Mats are rolled carefully. Blankets folded and tucked away. Sleeping spaces disappear as homes become workspaces again. Rooms that held rest only hours earlier now return to ordinary life. Water jars, cooking pots, tools, baskets. Everything waits where yesterday left it. Inside kitchens, fires slowly come alive. A woman kneels near a clay oven while dim early light slips through the doorway. Her hands already know the rhythm of morning. Grain has been ground. Dough prepared. Bread must be baked before the day fully begins. The smell comes slowly at first. Warm flour. Smoke. Fresh heat rising into cool air. Across the neighborhood, similar mornings quietly unfold. Someone grinds grain with patient effort. Someone fetches water. Someone wakes sleepy children who would rather remain resting a little longer. Morning routines repeat themselves day after day until they become almost invisible. Familiar enough to happen without much thought. Outside, narrow streets begin filling with movement. Not crowded yet. Only scattered footsteps. Workers leaving early. Merchants preparing stalls. Animals led slowly through dusty roads. A water seller moves carefully through the neighborhood. Clay containers shift gently with each step. Water matters deeply in daily life. Every household depends upon it. Enough for drinking. Enough for cooking. Enough for cleaning. Without nearby water, ordinary tasks become much harder. In cities blessed with canals, rivers, or wells, daily routines move more smoothly. Yet even then, gathering water often takes time and labor. Someone always carries something. Jars. Food. Wood. Cloth. Tools. Ordinary life asks for constant movement. As sunlight slowly spreads, workshops begin opening once more. Wooden doors creak outward. Dust settles across stone floors. The familiar smell of work returns. In one small shop, a weaver begins preparing thread while morning light touches stacked cloth nearby. The work requires patience. Hours of patience. Hands moving again and again. Thread pulled carefully. Mistakes corrected. Concentration held despite tiredness. Textiles matter everywhere. Clothing. Blankets. Trade goods. Homes depend upon them. Yet behind every finished piece sits someone who spent long hours shaping it by hand. Nearby, a blacksmith begins another difficult morning. Fire slowly brightens. Metal tools rest nearby. The heat around his workshop grows quickly. Even before midday arrives, sweat begins gathering along his forehead. This work is hard upon the body. Heavy lifting. Sharp heat. Endless repetition. But tools need repair. Knives dull. Farming equipment breaks. Homes need hinges and locks. Ordinary people depend on workers whose names history rarely remembers. Across the city, market streets slowly stretch awake. A fruit seller arranges dates neatly in baskets. A spice merchant uncovers fragrant goods wrapped carefully against dust. Cloth sellers shake folded fabric before hanging it where passing people can see. Nothing feels hurried. The city wakes at its own quiet pace. Morning sunlight catches floating dust. Soft voices drift through narrow roads. Animals move patiently between people. A child carries bread home while trying not to eat it too quickly. For apprentices, morning often begins with cleaning. Sweeping floors. Carrying tools. Preparing materials before older workers arrive. Many young people learn trades this way. Watching carefully. Repeating simple tasks. Slowly earning trust. A young apprentice might spend years learning patience before skill fully arrives. Some days feel endless. Mistakes feel embarrassing. Still, knowledge grows little by little. An older craftsman watches quietly. Correcting gently. Showing how hands should move. Teaching not only skill, but endurance. Because ordinary work asks for endurance. Always. In homes, women continue labor often unnoticed by the outside world. Food preparation alone can take much of the day. Grinding grain is exhausting. Kneading dough requires strength. Fetching water takes effort. Clothing needs mending. Children need care. Illness must be managed. Meals planned from whatever ingredients are available. Work happens quietly, without praise. Yet homes cannot function without it. A grandmother rocks a sleepy child while peeling vegetables nearby. A daughter helps clean clay dishes. Someone checks stored food carefully, hoping supplies will last long enough. Worry sometimes sits quietly beneath daily life. Will harvests be enough? Will money stretch far enough? Will sickness stay away? Most people live close to uncertainty. One difficult season can bring hardship quickly. Still, people continue. Because life leaves little choice. Outside city walls, farmers are already hard at work. The morning coolness matters. Heavy labor becomes harder once the sun climbs higher. A farmer walks slowly beside irrigation channels, checking water flow toward fields. Crops need care every day. Too much water causes trouble. Too little brings fear. Farming asks for constant attention. The body learns tiredness. Hands roughen. Feet harden. The land rewards patience, but never guarantees comfort. A donkey pulls tools through soft dirt. Birds scatter nearby. Wind brushes lightly through growing plants. For a few moments, morning still feels peaceful. Yet everyone knows the heat is coming. By midday, shade will become precious. Faces will shine with sweat. Bodies will slow beneath heavy sunlight. But now, while air still feels cool, work moves steadily. The river nearby glimmers softly beneath early light. Fishermen already move quietly across water. Nets lowered. Boats rocking gently. Patience again becomes part of survival. Fishing cannot be hurried. Waiting belongs to the work. Some mornings bring enough. Others do not. No one knows until the day unfolds. Back in the city, morning grows louder. Footsteps multiply. Voices rise gently. Shops open wider. The smell of bread drifts through streets. Animals call softly. Children run errands for parents. Someone bargains quietly over cloth. Someone carries heavy baskets toward market stalls. Someone pauses briefly in shade, already tired though much of the day still remains. The world feels alive now. Busy. Yet strangely peaceful too. Not because life is easy. It is not. But because repetition creates rhythm. A rhythm shared by thousands of ordinary people living ordinary days. The same roads walked each morning. The same work repeated. The same hopes carried quietly. Enough food. Enough rest. Enough health. Enough peace to greet another sunrise. And as sunlight climbs steadily higher into the widening sky, the long warm day stretches gently ahead, waiting once more for tired hands and patient hearts. As the morning grows older, the city settles fully into the rhythm of work. The softer coolness of dawn slowly fades away. Sunlight begins resting more heavily on rooftops, market roads, and stone courtyards. Shadows shorten little by little. The warmth rises quietly from the earth, gathering itself for another long afternoon. Ordinary people feel the change before they even think about it. A worker loosens his shoulders. Someone wipes sweat from the forehead. A merchant adjusts cloth hanging above a stall to create a little more shade. The day is deepening. And work continues. In the markets, movement grows steadier now. The slow morning calm has given way to busy footsteps and quiet conversations carried through warm air. Sellers call gently to passing people. Not loudly. Not urgently. Just enough to be heard above the sounds of ordinary life. Clay bowls rest neatly in rows. Fresh bread cools on wooden boards. Dates sit piled in woven baskets. Bundles of herbs release soft smells into the air. Some families arrive with only a few coins, carefully deciding what can wait and what must be purchased today. Choices matter. Money rarely stretches far for ordinary people. A mother pauses beside vegetables, thinking quietly. Perhaps enough for soup tonight. Perhaps a little grain if prices are fair. Maybe cheese, if fortune allows. Often, meals are shaped by what is possible, not by what is desired. Still, people learn to make simple things comforting. Warm bread torn by hand. Lentils cooked slowly. Rice shared between family members. Olives passed around quietly during evening meals. Simple food tastes different after hard labor. Hunger gives ordinary meals their own kind of comfort. In one corner of the market, a young boy helps his uncle at a fabric stall. He folds cloth carefully, though not always perfectly. His fingers move too quickly sometimes, earning soft corrections from older hands nearby. Patience comes slowly. The uncle says little. Only enough. A quiet lesson here. A small reminder there. This is how many ordinary people learn. Not through books. Not inside classrooms. But through watching. Repeating. Listening. Mistakes become teachers. Time becomes the classroom. Nearby, an elderly scribe sits carefully at a small table. His work is quieter than most. Less dust. Less lifting. But tiring in other ways. His back aches from sitting. His eyes strain beneath careful concentration. Writing takes patience. Hands must remain steady. Ink must not spill. Words matter. Many ordinary people cannot read or write, yet scribes quietly shape much of daily life. Contracts. Business records. Letters. Agreements between merchants. Simple tasks perhaps, but important ones. A merchant leans closer, speaking softly while the scribe carefully records details onto paper. Nearby, someone waits their turn in silence. No rush. The city moves steadily, not quickly. Outside the crowded market roads, labor continues in workshops hidden behind heavy wooden doors. Inside a pottery workshop, heat gathers thickly. Clay waits in cool corners. Hands shape bowls slowly upon spinning wheels. Nothing is hurried. A small mistake may ruin many hours of effort. The potter presses careful fingers against soft clay. The shape begins gently. A bowl. A cup. A storage jar. Objects ordinary families depend upon every day. To carry water. To cook meals. To store grain safely. Simple things. Yet every useful object begins in someone's tired hands. The potter works quietly. Dust gathers lightly against clothing. His shoulders bend forward from long practice. Outside, the sound of footsteps drifts faintly inward. But inside the workshop, only spinning clay and patient breathing matter. Elsewhere, builders continue difficult work beneath growing heat. Stone is heavy. Wood difficult to carry. Walls do not rise quickly. Laborers bend, lift, move, repeat. Again and again. A foreman offers brief instruction. Someone drinks water carefully. Another sits briefly beneath shade, catching breath before standing once more. Tiredness becomes familiar. The body learns how to continue despite it. Some aches never fully disappear. An old injury in the knee. Pain in the lower back. Hands swollen from years of work. Still, labor waits for no one. Food depends upon effort. Shelter depends upon effort. Ordinary life depends upon waking each day and continuing. In homes across the city, quieter forms of work carry on. A woman sits near sunlight entering through a doorway while mending clothing worn thin from daily use. Needles move slowly. Thread pulled. Fabric turned. Tiny repairs repeated many times. Nearby, bread dough rises beneath cloth. A younger child plays quietly with scraps of rope. Another naps against folded blankets. Homes rarely stay silent for long. Someone always needs something. Water. Food. Comfort. Health. Daily life asks much from everyone. Especially women, whose labor often stretches from before sunrise until deep into the evening. Cooking. Cleaning. Fetching water. Watching children. Repairing clothing. Managing supplies. Care without pause. The work rarely ends. Yet kindness appears quietly here too. A grandmother shares stories while peeling vegetables. Neighbors exchange small help. A little flour borrowed. A clay pot returned. Someone watching a child while another finishes chores. Communities grow close through ordinary needs. By late morning, the heat becomes harder to ignore. The air feels thicker. Roads shimmer faintly. Dust sticks gently to damp skin. Shade grows precious. A laborer pauses beneath an overhanging roof. Eyes closed for just a moment. Rest matters. Even brief rest. Nearby, animals slow their pace too. Donkeys move patiently through crowded roads. Horses flick tails lazily against flies. Cats stretch in narrow patches of shade. The entire city seems to soften under the growing warmth. At the riverbanks, life continues with quieter rhythms. Water glimmers beneath sunlight. Boats drift carefully. Fishermen pull nets with patient hands. The river offers work, but never certainty. Some mornings bring enough fish. Others bring worry. Still, fishermen return again and again. Hope belongs to labor too. Nearby, women wash clothing near water, speaking softly while hands move steadily. Fabric dip. Wrung dry. Spread carefully beneath sunlight. Work shared together often feels lighter. Not easy. Only lighter. The smell of water mixes with warm earth. Birds move quietly overhead. The river seems calm, even while lives around it remain busy. Farther away, in farming villages, the day has already become difficult. Sunlight presses down harder now. Farmers continue working despite tiredness growing heavier with each passing hour. Water channels must be checked. Animals guided. Fields maintained. Food does not appear without effort. Everything asks something of the body. A farmer pauses briefly, standing still beneath open sky. He drinks water slowly. Looks across the land. Perhaps thinking of tomorrow. Or next season. Or whether crops will be enough this year. Worry walks beside many ordinary people. Quietly. Constantly. Yet so does hope. Because every seed planted carries hope. Every market day carries hope. Every repaired roof. Every healthy child. Every evening meal. Hope lives in small things. Back in the city, sunlight grows brighter still. Shadows shorten almost completely. The warmth now settles everywhere. Against walls. Across rooftops. Inside workshops. Through crowded streets. People move more slowly. Voices grow softer. Energy begins fading beneath the long pull of approaching midday. Soon, some workers will pause briefly. Some markets will quiet for a while. Some families will prepare simple meals before the hottest hours arrive. And above the city, the sky stretches wide and pale, holding the warmth of another ordinary day while thousands of quiet lives continue beneath it, one small task at a time. By the time the sun reaches higher overhead, the day feels heavier. Morning energy slowly fades into something quieter. The air no longer feels soft against the skin. Heat settles over streets and rooftops like a thick blanket that no one can escape. Stone walls grow warm. Dust rises gently beneath passing feet and lingers in still air. The city slows. Not fully. Work never truly stops. But movements become smaller now. More careful. Voices lower themselves naturally, as though even speaking too loudly asks too much from tired bodies. For ordinary workers, midday often feels the longest. A porter carrying sacks through crowded streets shifts the weight against sore shoulders. The rough fabric presses into skin already aching from many seasons of labor. Sweat gathers beneath loose clothing. Sandals strike warm stone again and again. There are still deliveries to finish. Still places to reach. Still work waiting. He pauses only briefly beside a shaded wall. A drink of water. A slow breath. Then movement begins again. Nearby, the market has changed its mood. Morning crowds have softened. People move slower beneath strips of shade stretched carefully between buildings. Merchants sit quietly behind their goods, fanning themselves with woven leaves or folded cloth. A spice seller rearranges baskets without urgency. A cloth merchant leans back, eyes half closed between customers. The smell of warm bread still drifts softly through the streets, though now it mixes with dust, heat, sweat, smoke, and distant cooking fires. Nothing smells entirely clean in a crowded city. Yet people grow used to it. Ordinary life has its own familiar scent. The warmth of stone. Animals resting nearby. Food cooking slowly. The dry smell of dust carried by warm wind. These things become part of memory. Part of daily rhythm. Children feel the heat too. Some remain indoors where shade offers relief. Others continue helping families despite tiredness growing across small faces. A boy carries water carefully between homes. A girl helps prepare food beside her mother, wiping flour from tired hands. Childhood often blends quietly into work. Not because life wishes to be cruel. Simply because survival asks for many hands. Families depend upon one another. Every task shared matters. Inside homes, midday labor continues patiently. Cooking does not stop because of heat. Bread still needs baking. Water still needs carrying. Clothing still tears. Children still become hungry. A woman kneels near a clay oven, warmth surrounding her from every direction now. Fire below. Summer air above. She moves slowly. Carefully. Energy saved where possible. A meal simmers nearby in a simple pot. Lentils perhaps. Vegetables if they are available. Food shaped not by luxury, but by practicality. Enough for strength. Enough to quiet hunger. In wealthier households, servants often continue through exhausting hours with little pause. Floors swept. Water carried. Meals prepared. Guests served. The labor behind comfort often remains unseen. Yet ordinary workers fill every quiet corner of daily life. Someone grinding grain. Someone carrying water. Someone cleaning courtyards. Someone repairing shoes worn thin from dusty roads. History often remembers rulers. But ordinary hands hold entire cities together. Elsewhere, workshops grow difficult beneath the afternoon warmth. In a blacksmith's shop, heat feels endless. Fire glows bright. Metal waits upon stone. Each movement asks effort. Hammer striking again. And again. And again. The sound echoes softly through nearby streets. Sweat gathers quickly. Arms ache. Still, tools must be repaired. Farmers need blades. Builders need nails. Homes need hinges. Work continues because daily life depends upon it. Nearby, inside a weaving room, quiet patience fills the space. Thread moves slowly through practiced hands. The work is repetitive. Steady. Almost rhythmic. The soft movement of fabric. The quiet sound of wooden frames. Someone shifting tired posture after many hours seated. A young apprentice watches carefully nearby. Learning takes time. Mistakes happen. Correction follows. Then practice again. Most skills grow slowly. Like rivers shaping stone. Not through sudden change, but through repetition. Outside the city, the heat presses harder across open land. Fields shimmer beneath bright sunlight. Farmers continue despite exhaustion. The earth offers little mercy during warm seasons. Bent backs. Dry mouths. Hands roughened by years of labor. Still, crops need care. Animals need water. Life waits for no one. A farmer pauses beneath the narrow shade of a tree. Only for a few moments. Enough to drink. Enough to breathe. Then work returns. Nearby, irrigation channels move slowly through fields, carrying precious water where it is needed. Farmers watch carefully. Too little water brings worry. Too much can damage crops. Knowledge passes quietly between generations. A father teaching a son. An uncle showing patience to a younger worker. Lessons repeated season after season until they settle deeply into memory. No written instructions. Only practice. Observation. Time. At the riverside, the world feels softer somehow. Water cools the air slightly. Boats drift gently. Fishermen move patiently beneath the sun. One repairs torn nets while waiting. Hands moving without hurry. Waiting belongs to fishing. Quiet belongs to fishing too. The river carries silence differently. Water touching wood. Birds calling softly. Wind brushing reeds. Nearby, children sometimes splash briefly near shallow edges before returning to chores waiting nearby. Even moments of play feel small and temporary. Responsibilities return quickly. Back inside the city, some families pause for a midday meal. Nothing elaborate. Simple food shared quietly. Bread passed hand to hand. Dates resting in bowls. Cheese if available. Cool water carefully poured. People eat slowly. Not because there is time, but because tiredness asks for stillness. Conversation softens during hot hours. Sometimes silence feels easier. A laborer leans against a wall afterward, eyes closed briefly. Just resting. Only for a moment. The body asks for kindness where it can find it. Older people often understand this best. Years of work teach patience. Teach pacing. An elderly merchant shifts carefully onto a stool beneath shade. His knees ache more than they once did. His back stiffens after long hours sitting. Still, he comes to market. Routine matters. Work matters. People continue because stopping feels harder. In quiet corners of neighborhoods, old men sometimes sit together beneath shade discussing weather, prices, or harvest worries. Nothing dramatic. Only ordinary concerns. Will grain cost more? Will rain come? Will business improve? Daily life often feels fragile. Yet people continue building routines around uncertainty. By late afternoon, something slowly begins to change. Almost too slowly to notice at first. The sunlight softens. A faint breeze returns. Shadows begin stretching longer across roads. Relief approaches quietly. Workers notice. Bodies straighten little by little. The hardest heat begins loosening its grip. A merchant wipes sweat from the neck and exhales slowly. A builder drinks deeply from a water skin. Children find energy returning. The city seems to wake again after enduring the long stillness of midday. Voices slowly grow louder. Movement returns to streets. A woman steps outside carrying freshly washed fabric. A young boy runs an errand for his father. Someone lights preparation fires for the evening meal. Day begins leaning gently toward night. And across rooftops, markets, fields, workshops, riverbanks, and dusty roads, ordinary people continue carrying the quiet weight of another day, hoping only for enough strength to greet evening when it finally arrives. As the afternoon slowly softens, the city begins to breathe again. The heaviest heat no longer presses so firmly against walls and rooftops. Stone paths still hold warmth from the long day, but the sharp brightness of midday has started to fade. Shadows grow longer now, stretching gently across narrow roads where sandals quietly pass over dust. For many ordinary people, this hour brings a small kind of relief. Not rest exactly. There is still work to finish. Still meals to prepare. Still animals to tend. Still tools to gather before darkness arrives. Yet something changes in the feeling of the day. People move a little easier. Voices rise slightly. Children seem less tired. The world loosens its shoulders. In the marketplace, merchants sit straighter now as cooler air begins to drift through open streets. A seller of dates rearranges baskets once again, brushing dust gently from worn hands. Nearby, a fabric merchant unfolds cloth so evening shoppers may see colors more clearly beneath softer sunlight. Trade continues. Quietly. Patiently. Most ordinary people buy only what they need. Enough flour. Enough oil. Enough vegetables for supper. Perhaps soap if coins remain. A woman pauses beside baskets of onions, counting carefully in her mind. Every coin matters. Choices must be thoughtful. There are always future needs waiting quietly beyond today. A broken sandal. A sick child. Unexpected repairs. Life rarely leaves room for carelessness. Even so, markets hold small comforts. The familiar smell of bread. Neighbors exchanging soft greetings. A brief moment of conversation after long hours spent working alone. Community grows through ordinary meetings. A baker knows his regular customers. A merchant remembers familiar faces. Someone asks quietly about a relative recovering from illness. Someone else shares news from nearby villages. No great stories. Only the small details that shape everyday life. Elsewhere, workshops begin preparing for evening. Inside a carpenter's shop, rough hands sweep away sawdust gathered throughout the day. Wooden tools return to familiar places. Half-finished pieces wait patiently for tomorrow. The carpenter stretches his back slowly. Pain settles deep near the shoulders. Too many years bending over wood. Too many heavy boards carried beneath warm skies. Still, there is satisfaction in useful work. A repaired door. A strong table. A sturdy chest for storage. Simple things matter. Useful things matter. Nearby, a young apprentice watches carefully while cleaning tools. His hands are smaller still, movements less confident. Yet each passing season teaches him something new. Patience. Precision. Endurance. The quiet pride of learning work done well. He grows tired sometimes. Bored sometimes. But slowly, without noticing, skill begins forming. Outside city walls, fields glow softly beneath late sunlight. The hardest labor has passed for now. Farmers move slower through rows of crops, checking irrigation channels one final time before evening. Animals are gathered patiently. A donkey pulls tired feet homeward. Goats wander close together. Dust rises softly behind them. The land feels quieter now. Less demanding. Birds move low across the fields. The breeze finally returns. For a few moments, exhaustion eases. A farmer pauses beside water. He kneels slowly. Washes dust from hands roughened by years of work. The coolness feels welcome. Temporary perhaps. But welcome. Nearby, children help with smaller tasks before darkness arrives. Carrying bundles. Gathering tools. Leading animals toward shelter. Family work belongs to everyone. No one truly finishes early. Yet shared effort brings closeness too. A father teaches quietly. An older sister helps patiently. A grandmother watches from nearby shade. speaking gently when needed. Knowledge travels through families. Not written down. Simply lived. Repeated. Remembered. Back inside homes, evening preparations slowly begin. Cooking fires are lit. Clay pots return to warm. The smell of food drifts outward into narrow streets. Simple meals again. Lentils simmering slowly. Fresh bread warmed. Rice in some regions. Herbs mixed carefully into stews. Sometimes fish from nearby rivers. Sometimes meat, though many families save such things for special days. Ordinary meals remain humble. But after hard labor, warmth itself becomes comfort. A woman kneads dough while children sit nearby speaking softly. One child grows sleepy already. Another asks small questions about tomorrow. Will father go to market again? Will uncle visit? Will there be figs soon? Life often moves through these small hopes. Simple expectations. A quiet tomorrow. Enough food. Enough calm. Enough health. In crowded neighborhoods, neighbors begin appearing near doorways or courtyards. Someone borrows a little oil. Someone offers extra bread. Someone asks for help repairing something broken. Communities survive through small kindnesses. Not always. Hardship can make tempers short. But often enough that people remember generosity. Especially during difficult seasons. When illness comes. When harvests fail. When money grows scarce. People understand struggle because nearly everyone knows it personally. At riverbanks, fishermen begin returning home. Boats move slowly toward shore. Nets pulled carefully. Some days bring enough fish to sell. Others disappoint. Uncertainty belongs to river life. Yet still they return. Again and again. A fisherman carries tired muscles homeward. Hands smell faintly of water and rope. His back aches from bending. Still, evening offers peace. Soon there will be food. Family. Rest. Perhaps quiet conversation beneath the sky. For servants inside wealthier homes, evening may still remain busy. Meals must be finished. Guests attended. Courtyards cleaned. Water refreshed. Long days often stretch even longer. Yet eventually tiredness reaches everyone. No position in life escapes exhaustion entirely. As sunlight lowers, rooftops begin changing color. Gold becomes softer. Orange slips quietly across walls. The city glows gently beneath evening light. Dust floating in the air catches sunlight for a few brief moments before disappearing into shadow. Children run through alleys with renewed energy. Laughter appears more often now. Adults speak more softly. No one wishes to hurry. Night will arrive soon enough. In quiet corners of homes, older family members sometimes sit together sharing memories. A grandfather speaks of years when harvests were better. A grandmother remembers long journeys from another town. Stories pass gently between generations. Not grand history. Only family memory. Yet these stories matter deeply. They help people remember who they are. Where they belong. What hardships have already been survived. And slowly, almost unnoticed, evening settles further. The sunlight lowers. Birds grow quieter. The city begins turning toward home. Market stalls close one by one. Doors pull shut. Tools rest. Animals settle. People begin washing dust from faces and hands. The long day nears its ending. And above the city, the sky shifts toward softer colors, holding for a little while the quiet tiredness of thousands of ordinary lives preparing gently for night once more. Evening settles slowly over the city, soft and unhurried. The brightness of the day fades into warm shades of gold and pale orange. Rooftops cool little by little. Long shadows stretch through narrow streets where footsteps grow slower now, less hurried than before. The hardest work has finally passed. Tiredness settles gently into the body. Not suddenly. Not all at once. Just slowly, like dust settling after wind. Across markets, workshops, riverbanks, and farms, ordinary people begin making their way home. A laborer walks quietly through winding streets, shoulders heavy from carrying weights in sunrise. His clothing holds the dust of the day. Sand clings lightly to worn sandals. One arm still aches where rough sacks rested too long. Yet something comforting waits ahead. Food. Family. A familiar place to sit. Perhaps only a simple home with little inside. But familiar things matter deeply after long hours spent beneath heat and noise. Nearby, merchants begin gathering the remains of the day. Fabric folded carefully. Clay pots covered against dust. Baskets lifted. Coins counted slowly. Some evenings bring satisfaction. Others carry quiet worry. Not enough customers. Too few sales. Tomorrow's needs already waiting. Still, shop doors close. The work pauses. For now. In one small bakery, warmth still rises from ovens. The baker has been awake since darkness covered the city, and tiredness rests heavily across his face. Flour dust marks his clothing. Hands feel sore from kneading dough again and again. Yet the smell inside the bakery remains comforting. Fresh bread. Warm stone. Smoke drifting gently upward. Soon he too will rest. Soon another ordinary day will finally loosen its grip. Elsewhere, homes begin glowing softly with lamplight. Families gather inside courtyards or small rooms where evening meals slowly come together. Clay bowls are placed carefully. Water poured. Bread shared hand to hand. Simple things. Yet deeply important. For ordinary people, meals often feel like quiet moments of reunion. The day separates everyone. Fields pull people away. Markets pull people away. Workshops and roads pull people away. But evening gathers people together again. A father returns dusty from labor. Children sit nearby. A mother finishes preparing food while speaking softly about the day. Someone mentions rising prices. Someone else talks quietly about tomorrow's work. A grandmother watches with tired but gentle eyes. The sounds remain small. Soft conversation. The movement of dishes. The faint crackle of fire nearby. Nothing dramatic. Only ordinary life unfolding gently. In many homes, supper stays simple. Lentils cook slowly until soft. Flatbread still warm from nearby ovens. Olives resting in small bowls. Dates for sweetness if they are available. Sometimes vegetables gathered from market stalls at low prices near evening. Sometimes fish. Sometimes little more than bread and hope that tomorrow will be kinder. Yet hunger teaches gratitude for small meals. Warm food matters. Especially after exhaustion. Children grow sleepy quickly after eating. One leans quietly against a parent. Another rubs tired eyes. The youngest may already drift toward sleep while adults continue speaking softly nearby. Outside, evening air grows cooler. Neighbors appear near doorways or rooftops, welcoming relief from the heat trapped inside homes throughout the day. In warmer months, rooftops become places of life. People sit together beneath open skies. Some bring blankets for later. Others carry small lamps that flicker softly against the growing darkness. A man rests carefully against a wall, stretching sore legs. Nearby, another speaks quietly about harvest worries. Someone laughs gently at a familiar story repeated many times. Voices drift softly between rooftops. Not loud. Never hurried. Just calm conversation carried by evening wind. In poorer neighborhoods, life remains close together. Walls stand near one another. Families hear sounds from neighboring homes. Cooking. Quiet arguments. Laughter. Babies crying briefly before settling again. Privacy feels different here. People know one another's struggles. Who has fallen ill? Who cannot afford enough flour? Whose son recently began apprenticeship work? Whose daughter helps care for younger children? Hardship becomes shared knowledge. Sometimes shared responsibility too. A neighbor quietly leaves extra bread. Someone offers help repairing a broken roof. A borrowed cooking pot changes hands. Small kindnesses help difficult days feel lighter. At the riverbanks, fishermen clean the day's work beneath fading sunlight. Water reflects the colors of evening sky. Boats rest quietly now. The river moves with patient calm. Always moving. Always steady. A fisherman untangles worn net slowly. Hands practiced from years of repetition. Nearby, birds settle into silence. The world softens. Even tiredness feels quieter here. Far outside city walls, village life settles toward night in its own gentle way. Animals are gathered. Goats rest close together. Donkeys finally stand still after long work. Farmers return to homes carrying the exhaustion of fields upon their shoulders. Meals wait. Simple comforts wait. Perhaps only cool water and bread. Yet after endless hours beneath sunlight, even small comforts feel generous. A farmer washes dust from his face beside a water jar. The coolness feels good. His hands remain rough. Back sore. Muscles tired. Tomorrow will ask for everything again. Still, for now, work has paused. That matters. Inside village homes, lamps glow softly against mud brick walls. Families gather close. Stories are shared quietly. Children ask questions. Older people remember difficult seasons from years long past. Life feels uncertain sometimes. Harvests fail. Illness arrives. Money disappears quickly. Yet evening offers something steady. Togetherness. The comfort of familiar voices. The feeling that another day, however difficult, has been carried successfully to its ending. Back in the city, darkness slowly grows deeper. Stars begin appearing overhead. One by one. Soft and distant. The heat continues leaving rooftops little by little. Families begin preparing sleeping spaces. Mats carried carefully. Blankets unfolded. Children guided toward rest. Some sleep indoors. Many climb upward toward rooftops where cooler air drifts gently through the night. A young child pauses halfway up narrow stairs, already half asleep. A parent smiles softly. The long day has emptied everyone's energy. Soon silence will arrive. Soon footsteps will fade. Soon only distant sounds will remain. But for now, evening lingers. Warm. Quiet. Tired. The city slowly exhales after another ordinary day, while countless ordinary people sit together beneath fading skies, resting tired hands and weary hearts before darkness gently carries them toward sleep. Night deepens quietly above the city. The warmth of the day fades little by little, though traces of heat still rest inside stone walls and narrow streets. Rooftops hold the memory of sunlight. Courtyards grow calmer. The last movements of evening slowly soften into stillness. Across homes both large and small, ordinary people prepare for sleep. Not quickly. There is always one last task waiting. Water jars checked. Cooking pots cleaned. Bread wrapped carefully for tomorrow. Animals secured for the night. Doors fastened. Children settled. The day rarely ends all at once. Instead, it slowly lets go. In one small home, a mother folds cloth near fading lamplight while speaking softly to a sleepy child. The child asks a quiet question about tomorrow's market. Will there be sweets? Will grandfather visit? Small worries still belong to children, though sleep begins pulling gently at tired eyes. The mother smiles faintly. Tomorrow will arrive when it arrives. For now, rest matters. Nearby, a father rubs tired hands together after long labor carrying goods across the city. Tiny aches settle inside the fingers. His shoulders feel heavy. The body remembers effort even after work has ended. He sits quietly for a moment, listening. The sounds of night beginning. A distant conversation. Someone closing a wooden door. Soft footsteps fading into darkness. Nothing feels rushed anymore. In warm seasons, rooftops slowly fill again. Families climb narrow stairways carrying woven mats, blankets, and small pillows. The night air feels kinder now than crowded rooms below. A breeze moves gently through darkness, bringing relief after a day spent beneath heavy heat. Children sometimes whisper sleepily before drifting into dreams. Adults speak more softly here. Voices lowered naturally beneath open sky. A neighbor across another rooftop offers quiet greeting. Someone shares news from the market. Someone complains gently about sore knees or rising food prices. Ordinary concerns. Always ordinary concerns. Because most lives move close to practical worries. Enough food. Enough work. Enough health. Enough calm to continue. In city streets below, quiet workers still remain awake. The baker's work often continues long into darkness. Inside warm bakeries, dough rests upon wooden tables while tired hands continue kneading. Fires glow softly in clay ovens. Flour settles across clothing like pale dust. The baker knows morning arrives quickly. People will wake hungry. Bread must already be waiting. His body grows tired. Arms sore. Back stiff. Still, repetition becomes familiar. Hands move almost without thought now. Years teach rhythm. Elsewhere, night guards walk slowly through darkened roads. Oil lamps flicker near gates. Footsteps echo gently across stone. Most nights remain peaceful. Still, someone must stay awake. Someone must listen for unusual sounds while the city sleeps. A guard pauses briefly beneath moonlight. The world feels quiet tonight. Only wind moving through narrow streets. Only distant water somewhere beyond walls. The city rests. Inside homes, sleep arrives differently for everyone. Children surrender to sleep first. Their days feel long. Their energy spent. A child curls beside family beneath a light blanket, face soft with deep rest. Older people sleep more lightly sometimes. Years bring aches. Joints stiffen. Backs complain quietly. Some wake briefly during the night before settling once again. Illness often moves silently through ordinary life. A cough lingering too long. Pain carried quietly. Fever arriving without warning. Medicine exists in many forms. Herbs. Advice from healers. Knowledge passed between families. But often people simply endure. Rest when possible. Continue when necessary. The body becomes something to care for carefully, though hard labor leaves little room for gentleness. Outside city walls, villages rest beneath wider skies. The darkness feels larger there. Fields stretch quietly into shadow. Animals sleep nearby. The smell of earth cools after daytime heat. A farmer lies down at last after hours of labor. His body feels heavy. Muscles sore from bending and lifting beneath sunlight. Tomorrow waits already. Crops still need care. Water still needs checking. Animals still need feeding. Yet none of that belongs to this moment. This moment belongs to stillness. Nearby, wind brushes gently through dry grass. Stars spread overhead. The silence feels deep. Comforting somehow. Not empty. Just peaceful. At riverbanks, boats rest quietly against shore. Water moves patiently in darkness. Always moving. Soft sounds of current touching wood drip through cool air. Fishermen sleep nearby, already tired from long hours spent waiting, rowing, repairing, hoping. Hope belongs to river life. Every morning offers another chance. Every net lowered carries possibility. No certainty. Only hope. Back in the city, lamps slowly disappear one by one. Dark windows settle into silence. Families drift deeper into rest. Someone turns quietly beneath blankets. Someone murmurs softly in sleep. A mother wakes briefly to check on a child before lying back down. The city feels softer now. Almost hidden beneath darkness. No markets. No bargaining. No hammering from workshops. No crowded roads filled with dust. Only rest. Only waiting. Night offers mercy in this way. Even difficult lives pause. The laborer no longer lifts. The merchant no longer counts coins. The cook no longer stands near fire. The farmer no longer bends toward earth. For a few hours, tired hands become still. Dreams come quietly. Simple dreams sometimes. A better harvest. Health returning. Enough money for repairs. Enough grain to last the season. A peaceful tomorrow. Nothing grand. Only ordinary wishes carried gently through sleep. Far above, the stars remain patient. Watching over rooftops. Watching over rivers. Watching over dusty roads that tomorrow will once again fill with footsteps. And slowly, very slowly, darkness begins changing shape. The deepest part of night passes unnoticed. Somewhere beyond the horizon, dawn waits quietly. The baker's fire still glows. A guard continues walking. A mother stirs briefly beside sleeping children. Morning has not yet arrived. But somewhere in the distance, another ordinary day is already beginning to breathe. Before sunrise, the world feels suspended between sleeping and waking. The city rests beneath soft darkness, quiet and still, as though holding one long breath before another day begins. Rooftops lie silent beneath fading stars. Courtyards remain cool. Narrow roads that only hours earlier held footsteps and voices now sit empty beneath the pale light of the moon. This is one of the calmest moments of the day. Few people are awake. Most families still sleep beside one another, wrapped in blankets against the coolness that briefly visits before morning warmth returns. A child turns softly in sleep. Someone nearby murmurs faintly, lost inside dreams. The air feels different now. Cooler. Lighter. For a little while, the city belongs to quiet. Yet even in these peaceful hours, some ordinary lives have already begun moving again. In a small bakery tucked between narrow streets, warm light flickers softly against stone walls. The baker has risen long before dawn, as he often does. His day begins while darkness still covers rooftops. The oven already glows. The smell of warm flour drifts through the room. His hands move with familiar patience. Mixing. Kneading. Shaping dough. The work asks much from the body. Strong arms. Endless repetition. Hours spent standing near fire. Yet this labor matters deeply. When families wake, bread must be ready. The city depends on small routines happening quietly before sunrise. Elsewhere, a water carrier walks carefully through still streets. Clay jars shift gently with each step. The work is lonely at this hour. No crowded markets. No loud conversation. Only soft footsteps and distant sounds carried by cool wind. Water waits at the center of ordinary life. For drinking. Cooking. Cleaning. Without it, the day cannot properly begin. Even before dawn, someone must already be working. Near city gates, a guard pauses briefly beneath fading stars. His long night nears its ending. Tiredness rests heavily across his shoulders now. Eyes sting from staying awake. Still, the city remains safe. Mostly quiet. That is enough. He listens for a moment. Somewhere in the distance, a donkey stirs. Farther away, Faint movement from an early worker echoes softly through empty roads. Morning approaches. Slowly. In homes across the city, the first signs of waking begin. A mother opens her eyes. Still tired. The body not fully rested. But the day waits for no one. She rises quietly so children may sleep a little longer. Bare feet touch cool floors. Hands move automatically through familiar motions practiced countless times. A clay lamp glows softly. Water poured. Fire prepared. The first work of the day begins. No applause. No audience. Only quiet responsibility. In many homes, women begin working before anyone else rises. Food does not appear by itself. Grain must be ground. Dough kneaded. Water carried. Meals prepared. The invisible labor of ordinary life begins while darkness still lingers. A daughter wakes too, rubbing sleep from tired eyes. She helps without needing instruction. Fetch this. Carry that. Small tasks learned over years. Family work belongs to everyone. Outside, the horizon slowly changes color. Dark blue softens. Gray spreads gently across the sky. Birds begin stirring. The first sounds of morning appear almost unnoticed. A soft wing overhead. A distant animal call. Wood shifting as someone opens a door. The city wakes carefully. Without hurry. In farming villages beyond city walls, mornings begin even earlier. Farmers understand the importance of cool hours. Work done before heavy heat arrives feels easier on tired bodies. A farmer steps outside into soft dawn air. His muscles remain sore from yesterday. The back stiff. Hands rough against skin. Still, there is work waiting. Always work waiting. He drinks water slowly. Checks tools. Looks toward fields still resting beneath early light. The land waits patiently. Animals begin moving nearby. Goats shifting softly. A donkey shaking dust from its coat. Birds crossing open sky. For a few quiet moments, morning feels peaceful. Almost gentle. At riverbanks, fishermen prepare boats in near silence. Water moves slowly beneath dim light. The river seems half asleep still. A man untangles nets carefully while standing barefoot near shore. Hands know every knot. Every tear. Every repair. Fishing rewards patience more than speed. The river decides many things. Some mornings bring enough. Others bring worry. Still, fishermen return day after day. Hope belongs to routine. Hope belongs to ordinary labor. Back inside the city, rooftops slowly come alive. Families who slept beneath open skies begin waking. Blankets folded carefully. Mats rolled and stacked. Children remain sleepy, moving slowly while parents begin preparing for the day. The coolness will not last long. Already, warmth hides quietly beyond the horizon. A father stretches sore shoulders. Yesterday's work still resting inside the muscles. He says little. Morning often begins quietly. Energy saved. Thoughts still soft with sleep. Soon the streets begin changing. Footsteps appear. Doors open. Merchants prepare for market. Animals move through narrow roads. Dust rises gently beneath sandals. The smell of fresh bread slowly spreads outward from bakeries. Warm. Comforting. Familiar. For many ordinary people, this smell belongs to morning itself. A young apprentice hurries through the street carrying tools for his master. Sleep still lingers in his face, though responsibility has already arrived. Work begins early. Mistakes matter. Learning happens through effort. He walks faster. The day is waiting. Inside workshops, doors open once again. Carpenters prepare tools. Potters gather clay. Blacksmiths wake fire from yesterday's ashes. The rhythm begins again. Not exciting. Not dramatic. Just steady. Like breathing. Like footsteps repeated across familiar roads. The city knows this rhythm well. Wake. Work. Rest. Sleep. Then begin again. Day after day. Season after season. Year after year. Across the Islamic world, ordinary people quietly shape life through repetition. A baker making bread before sunrise. A mother preparing food. A laborer carrying heavy loads. A farmer checking water. A fisherman repairing torn nets. No songs written about most of them. No monuments built. Yet everything depends upon them. And now, as the first sunlight finally touches rooftops and soft golden light begins spreading across walls and dusty roads, another ordinary day opens gently before them, carrying once again the quiet weight of labor, hope, and familiar routine. The morning grows slowly brighter. Sunlight spreads gently across rooftops, market streets, and dusty roads that only a short time ago rested quietly beneath darkness. The coolness of dawn begins fading now, though traces of it still linger in shaded corners where the warmth has not yet fully arrived. The city is awake. Not all at once. Never all at once. It wakes in layers. A door opening here. Footsteps there. The sound of water being poured into clay cups. Animals shifting patiently beside walls. A baker lifting warm bread from ovens. Small movements joining together until ordinary life begins once more. In homes across the city, breakfast is often simple. Fresh bread torn by hand. Dates resting in small bowls. Cheese if the family can afford it. Olives. Sometimes leftover stew from the previous evening. Nothing complicated. Nothing wasted. Food must last. A father eats quietly before work. He does not speak much this early. Tiredness still lingers from yesterday. One shoulder aches faintly from carrying heavy loads through crowded roads. Nearby, children wake slowly. Some still sleepy. Others already helping. A daughter carries water carefully into the home. A son prepares tools beside the doorway. Everyone contributes where they can. Even small hands matter. Life depends upon shared effort. A mother continues moving through morning tasks almost without pause. Cleaning. Preparing food. Checking supplies. Making sure nothing important has been forgotten. How much flour remains? Enough oil for supper? Will someone need to visit the market today? Ordinary worries sit quietly inside ordinary mornings. Nothing dramatic. Just practical thoughts shaping daily life. Outside, narrow streets slowly fill with movement. Merchants push open wooden shutters. Workshop owners sweep yesterday's dust from floors. Donkeys move patiently through roads carrying baskets or tools. Already, the smell of bread drifts gently through warm air. Smoke rises from ovens. Voices begin growing louder. The city stretches awake. At the market, sellers arrive one by one. A fruit merchant arranges dates in careful rows. A spice seller opens small bundles, letting familiar scents drift softly outward. Fabric merchants shake dust from folded cloth before hanging it neatly for customers. Morning markets feel hopeful somehow. The day still new. Possibilities still open. Perhaps today will bring enough customers. Enough coins. Enough comfort to quiet tomorrow's worries. Nearby, a young apprentice sweeps the front of a workshop. His movements still clumsy sometimes. Not yet practiced. Not yet smooth. But learning happens quietly. A correction from an older worker. A repeated lesson. Patience growing slowly through repetition. He watches everything carefully. How tools are held. How customers are greeted. How mistakes are fixed instead of hidden. Skills take time. Years sometimes. Ordinary knowledge grows slowly. Inside a carpenter's workshop. Wood dust gathers gently in morning light. Rough hands move carefully across unfinished boards. The carpenter measures, adjusts, shapes. Every object asks patience. A crooked cut wastes effort. Care matters. Nearby, the apprentice watches silently. One day perhaps these movements will feel natural to him too. For now, he learns. Outside city walls, farming life already feels busy. Morning coolness makes hard labor easier, and farmers know time should not be wasted. A man walks slowly beside irrigation channels, checking water flow across fields. Too little water brings fear. Too much causes trouble. Farming requires attention every day. The earth rarely forgives carelessness. Animals move nearby. A donkey pulls simple tools. Birds rise suddenly from crops. Wind brushes softly through growing plants. For a brief moment, the land feels calm. Almost peaceful. Yet labor waits everywhere. A fence needing repair. A tool broken yesterday. Crops requiring care. No day passes without responsibility. At the riverbanks, fishermen continue their patient routines. Boats drift quietly beneath widening sunlight. The water shines softly. One fisherman repairs torn netting while waiting. Hands move automatically. Knot after knot. Years of practice guiding tired fingers. Nearby, another fisherman studies the water quietly. Watching. Waiting. Listening. Fishing teaches patience. The river decides much. Some mornings feel generous. Others remain uncertain. Still, ordinary life continues. Back inside homes, quieter work unfolds. Clothing must be mended. Floors swept. Food prepared for later. Children cared for. An older woman sits near sunlight entering through a doorway, repairing worn fabric with careful hands. Her eyesight is not as strong as before. Fingers move slower now. Still, the work matters. Nothing useful should be wasted. Fabric becomes expensive to replace. Sandals wear thin quickly. Clay pots crack. Life asks people to care for what they own. Objects remain simple, yet valuable. Nearby, younger children play quietly while adults work. A small game made from stones. A story whispered softly between siblings. Even ordinary days hold moments of gentleness. Though childhood often arrives beside responsibility. Soon enough, work will become theirs too. As the sun rises higher, warmth begins spreading more firmly through the city. People notice. A merchant adjusts cloth overhead to create shade. Someone drinks water slowly. A laborer wipes sweat from the forehead already. The hardest heat has not yet arrived. But everyone knows it will. Morning remains the best time for movement. The best time for heavy tasks. A builder carries tools toward a construction site while shadows still offer relief. Beside him, another worker says little. Words feel unnecessary this early. Energy saved for labor. Stone waits. Wood waits. The day asks effort from everyone. In wealthier neighborhoods, servants begin long routines of their own. Water carried. Rooms cleaned. Food prepared. Guests attended if needed. Much labor hides behind comfort. Quiet labor. Often unnoticed. Yet necessary. Someone always works so someone else may rest. At market stalls, conversations slowly deepen as more people arrive. Prices discussed. Weather mentioned. News from nearby towns exchanged carefully. Has the harvest improved? Did traders arrive safely? Is grain becoming more expensive? Ordinary concerns shape ordinary talk. People worry about practical things. Food. Money. Health. Family. The future never feels completely certain. Still, routines bring steadiness. A familiar merchant. A trusted baker. A neighbor's greeting. These things help life feel manageable. And as the morning continues unfolding beneath widening sunlight, thousands of ordinary people quietly settle into another day of patient effort, carrying hopes both small and important while the city hums gently around them. As the morning stretches onward, sunlight settles more firmly over the city. The softer coolness of dawn feels farther away now. Warmth slowly gathers against rooftops and stone roads. Dust begins rising more easily beneath passing feet, drifting softly through narrow streets where the day has fully begun. People move with purpose. Not hurried. Simply steady. Everyone seems to know where they must go. A laborer carries tools toward unfinished work. A merchant adjusts goods beneath cloth shade. A young apprentice hurries carefully through crowded roads, hoping not to disappoint the master waiting for him. Ordinary life moves through familiar patterns. Repeated so many times they almost feel invisible. The same roads. The same work. The same hopes quietly carried from one day into the next. At the market, voices blend gently together. Nothing loud. Nothing sharp. Only the steady sound of trade. A seller offers fresh bread still warm from morning ovens. Nearby, baskets of herbs rest beneath shade, filling the air with soft earthy smells. Dates sit piled neatly beside dried figs, waiting patiently for buyers. People pause. Look carefully. Count coins. Most purchases are thoughtful. Few people can afford carelessness. Money leaves quickly. Needs arrive constantly. A mother stands near a grain cellar, speaking softly while deciding how much flour can be purchased today without making tomorrow more difficult. There are always calculations happening quietly inside ordinary minds. Enough food. Enough savings. Enough patience for whatever trouble might arrive next. Nearby, a boy helps carry purchases for his family. The basket feels heavier than he expected, but he says little. Learning responsibility begins early. He watches older people carefully. How they bargain. How they speak respectfully. How they manage disappointment when prices rise. Lessons hide inside ordinary moments. Across the market road, a potter arranges freshly finished bowls and storage jars. Sunlight catches smooth clay surfaces shaped by long hours of careful labor. Some jars will hold water. Others grain. Some oil. Simple objects. Yet deeply important. A broken jar can make daily life harder. Every useful thing matters. The potter watches quietly, hoping today brings enough customers. Hope follows work everywhere. In workshops hidden behind wooden doors, labor grows heavier as warmth slowly increases. Inside a weaving room, hands move steadily through familiar motions. Thread pulled carefully. Cloth adjusted. Mistakes corrected before they spread too far. The work asks patience more than speed. A young apprentice grows restless sometimes, shoulders aching from sitting still. An older worker notices. Says little. Only enough. A reminder to slow down. To pay attention. Skill comes quietly. Slowly. Like water shaping stone. Nearby, a blacksmith's workshop grows hotter. The fire glows brighter. Metal warms beneath careful hands. Hammer strikes rise and fall with steady rhythm. Again. And again. And again. The sound drifts softly into nearby streets. People passing know the work without needing to look. The city learns familiar sounds. Bread ovens before dawn. Market voices after sunrise. Hammering through morning. Animals moving through roads. These rhythms shape ordinary time. Outside the city, sunlight spreads across fields now glowing softly beneath the growing warmth. Farmers continue steady labor while cooler air still remains. A man bends slowly near crops, checking leaves carefully. Another repairs part of an irrigation channel damaged days before. Everything asks attention. Fields cannot wait. Animals cannot wait. Even tiredness cannot wait. The land continues asking things from people. Still, there are moments of quiet beauty. Wind brushing gently through plants. Birds crossing wide sky. The sound of water moving patiently through channels. A farmer pauses briefly to drink. Looks outward across open land. For a moment, there is stillness. Then work begins again. At the riverbanks, fishermen continue patient routines beneath brightening sunlight. The river moves calmly. Always moving. Never hurried. A fisherman pulls slowly against a net while another untangles rope nearby. The work is repetitive. Sometimes lonely. But familiar. Many families depend upon river life. Fish for food. Fish to sell. Water for crops. Water for washing. The river quietly shapes daily survival. Nearby, women gather at the edge of water with baskets of clothing. Fabric dipped carefully. Hands working steadily while conversation moves softly between them. News shared. Family worries mentioned quietly. Someone speaks of illness. Someone else mentions rising prices. Life feels easier when worries are spoken aloud. Community grows through ordinary conversations. Back inside city homes, quiet work continues unseen. A woman kneels near grain, grinding steadily despite tired shoulders. The motion repeats endlessly. Forward. Turn. Lift. Again. Bread begins here. Meals begin here. Much of ordinary life depends on invisible labor hidden inside homes. A younger child watches nearby. Learning without being taught directly. Soon enough, these movements will become familiar too. Another daughter folds washed fabric beneath sunlight while listening to older family members speak quietly. Advice passes naturally through generations. How to store food. How to stretch supplies. How to care for sickness. How to survive difficult seasons. Ordinary wisdom matters deeply. Especially when life feels uncertain. As morning moves closer toward midday, warmth grows harder to ignore. Shadows shorten. Roads brighten. Workers wipe sweat from foreheads. A merchant pours water carefully into a clay cup. A laborer pauses beside shade for only a moment before returning to heavy tasks. Everyone understands what comes next. The long hot hours. The slow exhaustion of midday. Energy begins changing now. Morning freshness fades. People speak less. Move more carefully. Even animals seem slower. Donkeys lower their heads. Cats stretch sleepily in cool corners. Birdsong softens. The entire city adjusts itself to heat. Still, work continues. Because it must. Food depends upon effort. Shelter depends upon effort. Families depend upon effort. No one truly escapes responsibility. An elderly merchant shifts carefully beneath shade, rubbing knees worn stiff with age. He remembers younger years when carrying heavy goods felt easier. Now patience matters more than strength. Still, he opens his stall each morning. Routine brings comfort. Purpose matters. Nearby, a customer stops to speak kindly for a moment. Small conversations help long days feel lighter. And slowly, almost unnoticed, the sky grows brighter still above the city while ordinary lives continue moving beneath it, one careful task after another, carrying tiredness, patience, and quiet hope toward the warmer hours waiting just ahead. By late morning, the warmth settles more heavily across the city. Sunlight no longer feels soft. It presses gently against rooftops, walls, and dusty roads, warming stone until it begins holding heat for the long hours ahead. Shadows grow shorter now. Shade becomes something quietly valuable. People notice without needing to speak of it. A merchant shifts deeper beneath hanging cloth. A laborer drinks water more carefully. Someone walking through the market moves slower than before. The city adjusts itself to warmth the way it always has. Patiently. Quietly. Without complaint whenever possible. At the market, the busiest hours begin softening into steadier rhythms. Morning excitement fades into familiar routine. Sellers sit patiently beside goods arranged with care. Clay jars. Woven baskets. Herbs tied together neatly. Fabric folded against drifting dust. Nothing extravagant. Only useful things. Things ordinary people need. A mother pauses beside a spice seller, considering small amounts carefully. Coins remain precious. Every purchase must stretch as far as possible. Too much spent today may mean difficulty tomorrow. Ordinary life often balances between enough and not enough. Still, people learn patience. Learn stretching supplies. Learn making simple meals feel comforting. Nearby, an elderly fruit seller wipes sweat gently from his forehead. His stall is modest. Dates. Figs. A few seasonal fruits. Not always enough to bring comfort. Yet enough perhaps to continue. He has stood here many years. Knows familiar faces. Knows which families struggle quietly. Knows who recently welcomed a child or lost an older relative. Markets hold memory. Not just trade. Life unfolds there. News spreads softly. People reconnect. Neighbors exchange concern. Someone quietly asks about a lingering illness. Someone shares word of rain in distant villages. No grand stories. Only ordinary things that matter deeply. In workshops tucked behind narrow roads, labor continues despite rising warmth. Inside a carpenter's shop, sawdust rests across worn floors while sunlight enters carefully through open space near the roof. The carpenter works slowly now. Steady movements. No wasted effort. Hands roughened by years shape wood with patience learned through repetition. Nearby, the apprentice struggles slightly. A measurement wrong. A cut uneven. The older man corrects gently. No anger. Only quiet instruction. Mistakes belong to learning. Knowledge grows slowly. Like crops in careful soil. Elsewhere, a potter shapes wet clay while warmth thickens inside the workshop. His hands remain calm. A bowl forms slowly beneath practiced fingers. Then another. Then another. Each object small perhaps. Yet necessary. A home needs bowls. Storage jars. Water containers. Daily life rests upon ordinary objects made by ordinary hands. The potter does not hurry. Too much speed ruins careful work. Patience belongs to craft. At the edge of the city, builders continue beneath widening sunlight. Stone lifted. Wood carried. Walls shaped little by little. The work feels heavy already. Sweat darkens clothing. Dust gathers against skin. Someone pauses briefly to stretch aching muscles. Someone else sits in narrow shade, drinking slowly. Rest matters. Even short rest. The body asks for kindness where it can find it. Yet labor soon returns. Always returns. Outside city walls, the land glows brighter beneath growing heat. Farmers understand this rhythm well. Morning remains precious because cooler hours disappear quickly. A farmer bends beside crops while wind moves softly through nearby plants. Hands check leaves carefully. Enough water? Signs of trouble? The smallest problem matters. Food depends upon attention. Nearby, another farmer guides water through narrow channels cut carefully into dry earth. Water means survival. Every drop matters. Too little brings worry. Too much brings worry too. Life close to the land teaches patience with uncertainty. No season promises comfort. Still, seeds are planted. Still, labor continues. Hope belongs to farming. Quiet hope. Stubborn hope. A child nearby carries smaller tools while trying to imitate older family members. The work feels important, even if tiring. Responsibility arrives early. Children watch everything. How adults move. How they solve problems. How they endure difficult days. Lessons settle quietly into memory. At the riverbanks, sunlight dances across moving water. Fishermen continue patient work while reeds bend gently beside the shore. One man repairs netting slowly, fingers moving almost automatically now. Knot after knot. Pull. Tighten. Repeat. The work feels familiar enough to happen without much thought. Nearby, another fisherman studies the water. Waiting. Watching. The river teaches patience. There are no guarantees. Only effort. Only routine. Some mornings feel generous. Others feel uncertain. Yet tomorrow always asks them to return. Women washing clothing nearby speak softly while hands remain busy. Fabric lifted. Water dripping. Sunlight warming stone beneath their feet. Conversation moves gently. Children. Prices. Illness. Weather. Ordinary worries shared quietly become easier to carry. Back inside homes, invisible labor continues. A woman kneels near cooking pots preparing food for later. Bread dough rests beneath cloth nearby. Younger children sit close, one growing sleepy in the warm. There is always another task waiting. Clothing to repair. Water to carry. Food to prepare. Supplies to check. Ordinary care never fully ends. Yet homes feel comforting too. Familiar sounds. Familiar smells. The quiet rhythm of family life. A grandmother sits near a doorway where sunlight touches the floor. Hands move carefully through worn fabric needing repair. Eyes not as sharp as before. Still, useful work matters. Everyone contributes somehow. As late morning slowly drifts closer to midday, warmth becomes harder to escape. The air thickens. Roads brighten. Voices soften. People begin conserving energy. A merchant leans back beneath shade. A laborer wipes dust from tired eyes. Animals grow quieter. Even the city itself seems to slow. The hottest hours approach. Everyone feels it. Yet no one stops entirely. Because life continues asking things from people. Meals still need preparing. Goods still need selling. Fields still need care. Families still depend upon effort. And so beneath widening sunlight, ordinary people continue patiently through another warm morning, carrying small worries and small hopes alike while the city hums softly around them like something old, familiar, and deeply alive. Midday begins arriving slowly, almost quietly. At first, it is only a feeling. The sunlight grows brighter. The warmth settles deeper against walls and roads. Air that once moved softly through narrow streets now feels still, resting heavily across the city like something warm and patient. People notice the change without speaking much about it. The body understands. Morning energy begins fading. Movements slow naturally. Voices grow softer. The long warm hours have arrived. In market streets, shade becomes precious. Merchants shift closer beneath hanging cloth stretched carefully above stalls. A fabric seller leans back against folded goods while waiting for customers moving more slowly than before. No one hurries now. The heat does not allow much hurry. A fruit seller fans himself gently with woven leaves. Nearby, dates sit beneath shade, warm from the rising temperature. Dust drifts lazily through the air each time footsteps pass. Still, trade continues. Quietly. Steadily. A mother stops to purchase only what is needed for tonight's meal. A few onions. Some grain. Perhaps herbs if coins remain. She counts carefully. Always carefully. Most ordinary families think ahead constantly. Tomorrow matters. Next week matters. Unexpected trouble always waits nearby. Food prices changing. Illness arriving. Tools breaking. Life feels uncertain enough that caution becomes part of daily rhythm. Nearby, an elderly merchant sits quietly beneath shade. His hands rest upon tired knees. Years of work settle inside the body. The stiffness of morning. The ache of old injuries. The tiredness that never fully leaves. Still, routine carries him here every day. Work gives shape to life. Familiar faces pass by. Someone stops briefly to exchange greetings. Someone asks after his health. Small kindness matters, especially with age. Inside workshops, the warmth grows difficult. A blacksmith wipes sweat from his brow while fire burns bright nearby. Heat surrounds him now from every direction. The sun outside. The furnace inside. Metal waiting to be shaped. Hammer strikes come slower than earlier. Measured. Steady. No wasted strength. The body must last through the entire day. Nearby, inside a weaving room, windows remain open where possible, though little breeze enters now. Thread moves through patient fingers. Backs ache from long hours seated. Shoulders stiffen. Yet work continues. Cloth still needed. Orders still waiting. An apprentice stretches quietly when no one watches, trying to ease discomfort growing across tired muscles. Learning a trade means learning endurance too. Not only skill. Outside city walls, fields shimmer faintly beneath sunlight. The land feels wider in heat. More silent somehow. Farmers continue because there is little choice. Crops cannot wait for cooler weather. Animals still need care. A farmer pauses beside an irrigation channel, kneeling slowly to splash water against face and neck. The coolness helps. Only briefly. Still, even brief relief matters. His hands remain rough with years of labor. The skin darker where sunlight has settled season after season. Nearby, another worker bends carefully near crops, movements slower now than earlier morning. Energy saved where possible. No wasted motion. Midday teaches patience. At riverbanks, the world feels softer somehow. Water carries coolness even when air grows heavy. Fishermen drift quietly across slow currents. A boat rocks gently. Wood creaks softly. Someone waits beside lowered net. Patience again. Always patience. The river asks for calm. Waiting belongs to the work. Nearby, women washing clothing pause sometimes to rest beside shade. Conversation grows quieter during hot hours. Words take energy too. Still, familiar companionship matters. Someone shares concern about a child feeling ill. Someone speaks of flour becoming expensive. Someone remembers cooler days from earlier seasons. Ordinary conversations continue even beneath exhaustion. Back in city homes, the quiet labor of midday carries on. A woman kneels near cooking pots while warmth gathers inside the room. Fire adds its own heat to an already heavy afternoon. Yet meals still need preparing. Bread still needs attention. Children still grow hungry. Responsibility does not disappear because weather becomes difficult. A younger daughter helps nearby, carrying water carefully from one side of the room to another. Small tasks matter. Every helping hand matters. An older grandmother rests briefly near shade, mending fabric while younger family members move around her. Her hands know these movements deeply now. Repairing tears. Saving worn cloth. Making useful things last longer. Nothing wasted if it can still serve a purpose. Across rooftops, animals seek comfort too. Cats stretch into narrow patches of shade. Birds grow quieter. Donkeys stand patiently with lowered heads. The entire city seems slower now. Almost sleepy beneath warmth. Yet not silent. Never silent. Somewhere, tools still strike wood. Somewhere, Bread bakes. Somewhere, footsteps move carefully through dusty roads. Someone carries water. Someone repairs shoes. Someone counts coins and hopes business improves before evening. Ordinary life continues because it must. At the market, midday meals begin quietly for some workers. A merchant unwraps simple bread from cloth. Olives placed beside it. Perhaps cheese if fortune has been kind. A drink of water follows slowly. Nothing extravagant. Only enough. Enough to continue. Nearby, a laborer sits against stone for a few moments of rest. Eyes closed briefly. Hands resting upon tired knees. No one expects comfort. Only enough strength to finish the day. Older workers understand pacing well. They know heat punishes carelessness. Slow movement lasts longer. Patience protects energy. A young apprentice learns this slowly, often through tired mistakes. Rushing early. Exhausted later. Lessons arrive through experience. As the afternoon edges closer, sunlight remains bright overhead, but something begins changing little by little. Almost unnoticed at first. A faint breeze. Longer shadows beginning somewhere far away. The promise, however distant, that cooler hours will eventually return. People feel this too. Not yet relief. But the thought of relief. And so beneath the heavy warmth of midday, ordinary people continue moving through another patient stretch of labor, carrying tiredness carefully while waiting quietly for evening to arrive once again. The afternoon moves slowly. Slow enough that time itself seems to soften beneath the warmth. The brightest part of the day lingers above the city, resting across rooftops and dusty roads while ordinary people continue their work with quieter movements now. Morning energy has faded. Midday tiredness settles gently into shoulders, knees, and backs worn by long labor. Even the air feels slower. Still. Warm. Dust hangs softly where footsteps disturb the ground. Sunlight reflects faintly from pale stone walls. Somewhere in the distance, a donkey lets out a tired sound before falling quiet again. The city endures the afternoon patiently. It always has. At the marketplace, activity continues, though softer now. The rush of morning has disappeared. Customers move slowly between shaded stalls, lingering where cloth hangs overhead to block the strongest sunlight. A spice seller rearranges jars with careful hands. Nearby, baskets of dried fruit wait beneath shade. The smell of warm bread drifts softly through the air, blending with smoke, dust, and familiar city life. Nothing feels hurried. The warmth refuses hurry. A merchant pours water into a clay cup and drinks slowly. Across from him, another sits with tired shoulders, counting coins gathered throughout the morning. Not many. Perhaps enough. Enough for supper. Enough for tomorrow's needs. Ordinary hope often sounds like this. Enough. People rarely ask life for grand rewards. Only steadiness. Only peace where possible. Only enough. Nearby, a woman pauses beside fabric, touching cloth gently between fingers before deciding it must wait for another season. Needs come before wants. Always. A child stands beside her quietly, already learning how choices work. How patience works. How disappointment sometimes belongs to ordinary life. Still, there are small comforts. The familiar greeting of a merchant. The smell of bread. The promise of evening somewhere ahead. Inside workshops, the afternoon feels heavier. A carpenter wipes dust from tired hands before returning to unfinished work. Sawdust rests across floors warmed by sunlight slipping through narrow openings. His movements remain steady. Slow. Careful. Years of practice teach patience. There is no reason to rush now. Mistakes cost effort. Nearby, the apprentice shifts sore shoulders and watches carefully. Learning continues even when energy fades. The older worker says little. Only enough. A reminder to straighten the cut. A quiet correction. A lesson repeated gently. Craft grows through repetition, not speed. Elsewhere, a potter presses tired fingers against cool clay. The feeling brings relief. For a little while, the coolness of wet earth feels kind against hands warmed by the afternoon. Bowls take shape slowly. Storage jars. Water vessels. Simple objects. Yet important. Every home depends upon useful things made by patient hands. The potter pauses briefly. Stretches stiff fingers. Then begins again. Outside city walls, fields rest beneath broad sunlight. Farmers continue their work with slower rhythm now. Bodies tire beneath heat, but stopping completely is rarely possible. A man walks beside irrigation channels, checking carefully that water still moves where it is needed. Nearby, another gathers tools left earlier in the day. Work becomes gentler during afternoon hours. Energy protected. Movements smaller. Still, labor remains. The earth waits for no one. A young child sits briefly beneath shade, watching older family members continue their tasks. Soon enough, the child returns to helping. Small responsibilities. Carrying tools. Watching animals. Learning patience through observation. Life teaches quietly. At the riverbanks, the water glimmers beneath afternoon sunlight. The river feels calmer somehow during these warm hours. Boats drift gently. Wood creaks softly. A fisherman rests one hand against the edge of his boat while watching the water in silence. Fishing contains much waiting. Waiting for movement. Waiting for signs. Waiting for luck. Patience belongs everywhere in ordinary life. Nearby, another fisherman repairs worn rope. His fingers know the work deeply now. Pull. Tie. Tighten. Repeat. The rhythm feels familiar. Comforting even. At the water's edge, women washing clothing pause occasionally to sit beneath shade. Damp fabric hangs nearby, drying slowly beneath sunlight. Conversation moves gently. Someone speaks of a daughter learning household work. Someone else worries quietly about a sick parent. These moments matter. The sharing of ordinary burdens. Life feels lighter when worry does not remain hidden. Back inside homes, afternoon stretches quietly onward. A mother prepares food for later while younger children nap in shaded corners. The house feels still during warm hours. Even voices seem softer. A grandmother sits near a doorway where faint air still moves. Hands mend torn fabric patiently. Eyes tired. Back aching. Still, useful work continues. Always useful work. Nearby, clay jars stand quietly against walls. Water cooling inside. Bread wrapped carefully beneath cloth. Simple things. Necessary things. A home survives through small acts repeated every day. The carrying of water. The preparing of meals. The repairing of clothing. No task dramatic. Yet all important. Across the city, laborers rest when they can. A builder sits briefly against unfinished stonework. Another removes sandals for a moment to ease sore feet. The body asks for kindness. Even if only for a few minutes. Older workers understand this well. Strength changes with time. Pacing matters. Patience matters. No one escapes tiredness forever. As the afternoon continues, something almost invisible begins to shift. The sunlight softens just slightly. The sharpest edge of heat eases. A breeze appears for a moment, gentle enough to notice. Workers lift tired faces briefly. Relief has not arrived. Not yet. But its promise feels closer. In markets, people straighten a little. Children begin moving more energetically again. Animals stir from lazy stillness. The city slowly prepares itself for evening without even realizing it. And beneath the patient sky, ordinary people continue through another warm afternoon, carrying dust on their sandals, tiredness in their muscles, and quiet hope that tonight will bring rest before tomorrow gently asks everything of them once again. Little by little, the afternoon begins to loosen its hold. The sunlight remains warm, but no longer feels as sharp as before. Shadows stretch farther now, slowly reaching across roads and courtyards where the dust of the day still rests softly against stone. A faint breeze passes now and then through narrow streets, carrying with it the feeling that evening is quietly approaching. People notice. Not suddenly. Just slowly. The body feels it first. Shoulders relax a little. Movements grow easier. Voices return. The hardest hours are beginning to pass. At the market, merchants shift in their places with renewed patience. The afternoon quietness starts to change shape as more people appear again, stepping into cooler streets after spending the hottest hours indoors or beneath shade. A baker arranges warm bread for late customers. Nearby, baskets of vegetables catch softer sunlight. A merchant smooths folded fabric while speaking gently with someone choosing cloth for repairs at home. There is no hurry. Only the slow movement of ordinary life. A woman pauses beside a seller of herbs. She studies small bundles carefully, wondering what can be afforded today. Perhaps enough for soup. Perhaps something for a sick child. Small choices matter deeply. Life often feels shaped by small choices. A few coins saved. A little extra flour. An evening meal shared peacefully. Ordinary people learn to build comfort from modest things. Nearby, an older merchant shifts tired knees beneath his robe. He has worked this market for many years now. Faces become familiar. Children grow older. Families change. Seasons pass. He remembers people who no longer walk these streets. Still, each day begins again. Routine carries memory gently. In workshops, workers begin preparing for the end of the day, though much still remains unfinished. Inside a carpenter's shop, tools rest briefly between tasks. Sawdust gathers in warm light near the doorway. The carpenter studies a piece of wood carefully before smoothing rough edges with patient hands. Years of work teach calm. Mistakes happen less often when movements slow. Nearby, the apprentice works quietly, more tired now than earlier. Arms ache faintly. Back sore. Still, there is satisfaction in learning something useful. A skill that may someday provide food, shelter, stability. Ordinary dreams often remain practical. Enough work. Enough peace. Enough strength to care for family. Elsewhere, the blacksmith's fire burns lower now. The hardest labor has passed for today. Metal tools cool slowly nearby. The worker wipes sweat from tired skin and stretches aching shoulders. Heat leaves its mark. The body remembers difficult work long after the work itself ends. Still, there is pride in useful labor. A repaired tool. A sharpened blade. A strong hinge for someone's door. Useful things matter. Outside city walls, fields begin glowing beneath softer afternoon light. Farmers continue their final tasks before evening. Animals are gathered. Tools collected. Water channels checked once more before darkness comes. A farmer bends slowly, muscles protesting after a long day. Dust clings to sandals. Clothing feels heavy from heat and work. Yet evening waits nearby now. That matters. Nearby, a child helps carry smaller tools homeward. Tired, but proud to help. Learning begins this way. Not through long speeches. Only through doing. Watching. Helping. Growing slowly into responsibility. The land feels quieter now. Wind brushes gently through crops. Birds move lower across open sky. The sharp brightness of midday fades into softer gold. Even tiredness changes in this light. Feels gentler somehow. At the riverbanks, fishermen begin preparing to return. Boats drift lazily near shore. The water catches evening sunlight and turns soft gold for a little while. A fisherman gathers worn nets carefully. Some days have been generous. Others disappointing. Still, tomorrow waits. Hope returns each morning. Routine teaches this. Nearby, women collecting washed clothing fold dry fabric while speaking softly. The hardest heat has passed, and energy slowly returns to voices. Conversation grows warmer. Lighter. Someone laughs quietly. Someone shares good news from family. Someone worries aloud about money. Ordinary life holds both joy and worry together. Always together. Back in homes, evening preparations begin quietly. Cooking fires are lit. Clay pots return to warmth. The smell of food begins drifting softly through neighborhoods. Bread warmed. Stew prepared. Lentils cooking slowly. Simple food again. Comforting food. Food shaped by necessity rather than choice. Still, hunger makes ordinary meals feel meaningful. A mother kneels beside cooking fire while children sit nearby after long days of chores or errands. One child grows sleepy already. Another asks about tomorrow. Will father go to market? Will grandmother visit? Will there be dates tonight? Small hopes belong to ordinary evenings. In crowded neighborhoods, people appear outside homes once more. Neighbors exchange greetings. Someone borrows salt. Someone offers extra bread. Someone asks quietly about an illness in the family. Communities grow through repeated kindness. Not grand gestures. Only small things. Repeated many times. Enough to remind people they are not carrying life alone. Across rooftops, shadows lengthen beautifully. Stone cools slowly beneath fading sunlight. Cats stretch lazily where warmth still remains. Birdsong softens. The city feels tired now. But peaceful too. The labor of the day begins loosening its grip. Markets prepare to close. Workshops quiet. Animals settle. And little by little, beneath skies slowly changing color, ordinary people begin turning their tired steps toward home, carrying with them the dust of the day, sore muscles, and the quiet comfort that evening has almost arrived. Evening returns slowly, like an old and familiar visitor. The sky begins changing color above the city, soft gold fading gently into pale orange while long shadows settle across rooftops and narrow roads. Warmth still lingers in stone walls, but the sharp heaviness of afternoon has finally begun to loosen. The city feels tired now. Not unhappy. Just tired. Like countless hands and feet have carried enough for one day. Across market streets, merchants begin closing their stalls with practiced movements. Cloth folded carefully. Wooden crates stacked. Clay jars covered against dust. Coins counted. Quiet hopes measured. Was today enough? Enough grain for supper? Enough money for tomorrow? Ordinary worries follow people home like shadows. Yet evening offers comfort too. The work has paused. For now. A fruit seller gathers the last of his dates into woven baskets. Nearby, a baker wipes flour from tired hands while warm bread rests in neat rows waiting for late customers. The smell drifts softly through cooling air. Warm. Comforting. Familiar. For many people, this smell belongs to safety somehow. A reminder that another day has been carried successfully toward night. Children begin appearing more often now, energy returning as heat fades. Small feet move quickly through dusty paths. A group gathers near an open space between homes, inventing simple games from stones and imagination. Laughter rises briefly. Then fades again into ordinary sounds. Adults watch quietly while finishing final tasks. Childhood remains small here. Brief moments of play resting between responsibility. Soon enough, work will call these children too. But tonight, there is still time for laughter. In workshops, tools begin finding their places again. Inside a carpenter's shop, wood dust settles while the final pieces of the day are put aside. The carpenter stretches aching shoulders and rubs tired hands together slowly. Years of labor live inside the body. Back stiff. Fingers sore. Yet useful work brings quiet satisfaction. Nearby, the apprentice sweeps carefully. Still learning. Still tired. Still proud perhaps of small progress. A cleaner cut. A repaired mistake. Skills grow patiently. Almost invisibly. Elsewhere, a potter places finished bowls near the wall to dry. Clay rests silently now after hours spent beneath careful hands. The workshop grows quiet. Tomorrow will ask for more. But not yet. Outside the city walls, fields rest beneath softer evening light. Farmers walk home slowly along familiar paths, animals move nearby. Goats gathered. Donkeys carrying tools. Dust rising softly beneath tired footsteps. A farmer pauses briefly near water, washing dirt from rough hands before continuing home. Muscles ache deeply. The body feels heavy. Yet relief grows closer with every step. Food waits. Rest waits. Family waits. The land asks much from people. But evening offers something back. A pause. At riverbanks, fishermen return beneath skies turning gold. Boats drift quietly toward shore. Water reflects fading sunlight in soft patterns that disappear almost as soon as they appear. A fisherman gathers nets worn by time and use. Some days bring enough fish. Others leave worry behind. Still, there is comfort in routine. Tomorrow offers another chance. The river remains patient. Always patient. Nearby, women gather folded clothing and speak quietly while beginning the walk home. Conversation moves softly. Someone mentions a wedding in the coming weeks. Someone worries about rising prices. Someone laughs gently at an old family story repeated once again. Ordinary life feels stitched together by these moments. Nothing dramatic. Only closeness. Back inside homes, evening work begins. Cooking fires glow. Clay pots warm slowly. The smell of food drifts outward into streets now cooling beneath fading sunlight. Simple meals again. Stew. Bread. Lentils. Rice in some homes. Fish if fortune has been kind. Food shaped by necessity. Yet warm meals feel deeply comforting after labor. A mother kneels near firelight, stirring food patiently while children sit nearby. One child asks endless quiet questions. Another fights sleep. A grandmother folds cloth nearby, listening with tired but gentle eyes. The room feels small perhaps. Simple. Yet full. Familiar voices matter. Shared meals matter. Togetherness softens hardship. Across rooftops, families begin climbing stairs carrying woven mats and blankets. The air above feels cooler now. Kinder. People settle beneath open sky where breeze moves gently through darkness beginning to arrive. A father leans back carefully, stretching sore legs. A neighbor offers quiet greeting from another rooftop. Someone speaks about tomorrow's market. Someone complains gently about aching knees. Ordinary conversation drifts softly through evening air. No one speaks loudly. The day has taken enough energy already. In crowded neighborhoods, neighbors help one another in quiet ways. A little extra bread shared. A borrowed lamp returned. Someone checking on an elderly relative living nearby. Community grows through repetition too. Through ordinary kindness. Not perfection. Simply care repeated often enough to matter. As sunlight fades lower, stars begin appearing overhead. One at a time. Small and patient. The city slowly quiets. Market noise disappears. Workshops rest. Animals settle into stillness. The long day begins releasing its hold on tired bodies. Somewhere nearby, a child yawns beside warm firelight. Somewhere else, a laborer removes worn sandals and finally rests aching feet. Somewhere above, families settle onto rooftops where cool air moves gently beneath the stars. And slowly, softly, evening wraps itself around the city once more, while ordinary people carry the quiet comfort of survival into another peaceful night. Night settles more deeply now. The last colors of evening fade gently from the sky, leaving behind soft darkness spread across rooftops, winding roads, quiet courtyards, and distant fields resting beyond city walls. The warmth of the day still lingers in stone and earth, though cooler air moves carefully through open spaces, carrying a small feeling of relief. The city grows quieter. Not silent. Never completely silent. Even night has its sounds. Soft footsteps somewhere below. A distant voice carried briefly through darkness. The gentle creak of wood shifting as warm walls slowly cool. A donkey moving quietly in sleep. Somewhere far away, water touching stone. Life continues. Only softer now. Across rooftops, families settle into the comfort of familiar routines. Woven mats are spread carefully beneath open sky. Thin blankets folded nearby for later, when coolness arrives more fully before dawn. Children lie close to parents, already heavy with sleep after long days filled with chores, errands, and heat. One child whispers softly. A small question about tomorrow. Will uncle visit? Will father return from market early? Will there be sweet dates again? The question drifts gently into the night. A tired parent answers softly. Tomorrow will arrive when it arrives. For now, rest matters. Nearby, adults speak quietly beneath stars. Not long conversations. The body grows too tired for that. Only small exchanges. The price of grain. A neighbor feeling unwell. The hope that cooler weather may arrive soon. Ordinary thoughts at the end of an ordinary day. A father stretches sore legs carefully. His muscles still remember hours spent carrying heavy goods through crowded streets. Shoulders ache. Hands feel stiff. Yet beneath the open sky, tiredness softens a little. The breeze helps. Rest helps. Simply sitting still helps. Across another rooftop, an elderly man leans against folded blankets while watching stars appear one by one. He has lived many years beneath these skies. Seen seasons come and go. Watched children grow older. Watched neighbors disappear and new families arrive. Life changes slowly. Quietly. Almost invisibly. Still, some things remain. The evening breeze. The smell of bread drifting through neighborhoods. The sound of distant conversation at night. Familiar things matter more with age. Below, inside narrow streets, the city prepares fully for sleep. Doors close gently. Clay lamps glow softly behind windows before disappearing one by one. A merchant secures the final latch on a small shop. Tomorrow the market will open again. Tomorrow work returns. But tonight belongs to rest. Nearby, a baker still works beside warm ovens. His hours stretch longer than many others. Bread must greet the city before sunrise. The smell of flour hangs softly in warm air. Hands continue moving despite tiredness. Knead. Shape. Wait. Repeat. Routine carries him forward. The body learns repetition deeply. At city gates, guards continue slow walks through darkness. Oil lamps flicker near stone walls. Sandals scrape softly against worn ground. The work feels lonely at times. Yet someone must remain awake. Someone must listen while others sleep. The city trusts invisible labor. Often without noticing it. Outside the city walls, village life rests beneath broader skies. The land feels vast in darkness. Fields disappear into shadow. Animals settle near homes. A farmer lies beneath the quiet weight of exhaustion. The day lives inside tired muscles still. Bent backs remember labor. Hands remember tools. Tomorrow already waits patiently beyond darkness. Yet for now, sleep offers mercy. The body cannot work forever. Even the strongest hands must rest. At riverbanks, boats rock gently against shore. The river moves quietly beneath moonlight. Always moving. Always patient. Some fishermen sleep nearby, wrapped lightly against cooler air. Others wake briefly during the night, listening to water without fully knowing why. The river becomes part of memory. Part of breathing almost. Its sound familiar enough to comfort. Back inside homes, small moments continue quietly. A mother checks on sleeping children. A grandmother coughs softly before settling again. Someone rises briefly for water. Someone shifts beneath blankets. Ordinary sleep never stays perfectly still. Illness remains part of life too. A lingering ache. A fever carried quietly. Pain endured because there is little choice. Still, families care for one another where they can. Herbs prepared. Cool cloth placed gently upon warm skin. Small acts of care repeated softly in darkness. Nearby, neighbors sometimes notice when help is needed. An extra meal shared. Water carried. Someone checking quietly at the doorway. Community often grows strongest through hardship. The night deepens further. Stars spread wider overhead. The city feels smaller beneath them somehow. Softer. Almost hidden. No busy markets now. No crowded workshops. No shouting merchants. No builders lifting stone. Only stillness. Only tired bodies resting after another ordinary day. A laborer finally sleeps deeply after hours of carrying weight beneath heat. A mother rests after endless quiet work hidden inside the home. A fisherman dreams beside the river. A farmer sleeps with tomorrow already waiting inside tired bones. The city exhales. Slowly. Patiently. And somewhere in the deep quiet of the night, while stars watch over rooftops and dusty roads below, the first invisible thread of tomorrow has already begun, resting softly at the edge of darkness, waiting for another ordinary morning to arrive. The night grows softer now. The city rests. Rooftops lie quiet beneath wide skies filled with slow and patient stars. The warmth of the day has almost fully drifted away, leaving only gentle air moving softly between homes of stone and mud brick. Somewhere far below, the final sounds of evening fade into stillness. A distant door closes. A quiet voice disappears. Footsteps slow, then stop. And little by little, ordinary life settles fully into sleep. The baker rests beside tomorrow's dough waiting patiently for dawn. The fisherman sleeps near the river after long hours spent watching moving water. The farmer, tired from sunlight and dust, breathes deeply beneath open sky. Mothers who carried endless small responsibilities through the day finally close tired eyes. Children drift peacefully into dreams, their questions about tomorrow left resting gently in the darkness. Above them all, the stars remain. Quiet. Unhurried. The same stars shining softly over rivers, fields, markets, workshops, and sleeping rooftops. The same sky that watched countless ordinary lives pass gently from one season to another. History often remembers kings. Battles. Great buildings rising from the earth. But tonight, we stayed beside quieter lives. The hands that baked bread before sunrise. The tired shoulders carrying water home. The quiet conversations shared beside cooking fires. The sore feet returning slowly through dusty streets after another long day. Ordinary people. Patient people. People who woke with the sun, worked beneath warmth, rested beneath evening skies, and hoped only for enough food, enough calm, and enough strength for tomorrow. And now, even tomorrow can wait. The river moves softly in darkness. The warm desert wind quiets. Lamps grow dark one by one. The city sleeps. A cat curls into the fading warmth of stone. A blanket shifts gently beneath starlight. Far away, water continues its slow journey through the night, patient as time itself. Nothing asks anything more from this moment. No heavy work. No crowded market. No long road waiting. Only rest. Only quiet. Only the peaceful feeling of another day finally carried safely into silence. And so the ancient world grows still beneath the night sky. The rooftops cool. The stars drift slowly overhead. The river whispers softly in the distance. And somewhere, wrapped gently in the calm breathing of sleeping homes, history fades quietly into darkness. Softly. Slowly. Until there is only stillness.